And so with that, if you're ready, let's start. And we will begin with the fight against the coronavirus. President Trump, the first question is for you. The country is heading into a dangerous new phase. More than 40,000 Americans are in the hospital tonight with COVID, including record numbers here in Tennessee. And since the two of you last shared a stage, 16,000 Americans have died from COVID. So please be specific. How would you lead the country during this next stage of the coronavirus crisis? 2 minutes, uninterrupted.
So, as you know, 2.2 million people modeled out were expected to die. We closed up the greatest economy in the world in order to fight this horrible disease that came from China. It's a worldwide pandemic. It's all over the world. You see the spikes in Europe and many other places right now. If you notice, the mortality rate is down 85%. The excess mortality rate is way down and much lower than almost any other country. And we're fighting it, and we're fighting it hard. There is a spike. There was a spike in Florida, and it's now gone. There was a very big spike in Texas. It's now gone. There was a very big spike in Arizona. It's now gone. And there are some spikes and surges in other places. They will soon be gone. We have a vaccine that's coming. It's ready. It's going to be announced within weeks, and it's going to be delivered. We have Operation Warp Speed, which is the military is going to distribute the vaccine. I can tell you from personal experience that I was in the hospital, I had it, and I got better, and I will tell you that I had something that they gave me, a therapeutic, I guess they would call it. Some people could say it was a cure, but I was in for a short period of time, and I got better very fast, or I wouldn't be here tonight. And now they say I'm immune, whether it's 4 months or a lifetime. Nobody's been able to say that, but I'm immune. More and more people are getting better. We have a problem that's a worldwide problem. This is a worldwide problem. But I've been congratulated by the heads of many countries on what we've been able to do. If you take a look at what we've done in terms of goggles and masks and gowns and everything else, and in particular ventilators, we're now making ventilators all over the world, thousands and thousands a month, distributing them all over the world. It will go away, and as I say, we're rounding the turn, we're rounding the corner. It's going away.
Okay, former Vice President Biden, to you, how would you lead the country out of this crisis? You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
220,000 Americans dead. If you hear nothing else I say tonight, hear this. Anyone who's responsible for not taking control, in fact, not saying I take no responsibility initially. Anyone who's responsible for that many deaths should not remain as President of the United States of America. We're in a situation where there are 1,000 deaths a day now, 1,000 deaths a day. And there are over 70,000 new cases per day. Compared to what's going on in Europe, as the New England Medical Journal said, they're starting from a very low rate. We're starting from a very high rate. The expectation is we'll have another 200,000 Americans dead between now and the end of the year. If we just wore these masks, the president's own advisors have told him, we could save 100,000 lives. And we're in a circumstance where the president thus far and still has no plan, no comprehensive plan. What I would do is make sure we have everyone encouraged to wear a mask all the time. I would make sure we move in the direction of rapid testing, investing in rapid testing. I would make sure that we set up national standards as to how to open up schools and open up businesses so they can be safe and give them the wherewithal, the financial resources to be able to do that. We're in a situation now where the New England Medical Journal, one of the most serious journals in the whole world, said for the first time ever that the way this president has responded to this crisis has been absolutely tragic. And so, folks, I will take care of this. I will end this. I will make sure we have a plan.
President Trump, I'd like to follow up with you and your comments.
Have I moved on from
talked about
League?
Taking a therapeutic. I assume you're referencing Regeneron.
I
You
never
also
really
said a
played
vaccine
League,
will be
Alvin.
coming within weeks.
Yes.
Is that
was never a thing that I
guarantee?
really
Is-
played.
It's not a guarantee, but it will be by the end of the year. But I think it has a good chance. There are two companies, I think, within a matter of weeks, and it will be distributed very quickly.
Can you tell us which companies?
Johnson & Johnson is doing very well. Moderna is doing very well. Pfizer is doing very well. And we have numerous others. Then we also have others that we're working on very closely with other countries, in particular Europe.
Let me follow up with you, and because this is new information, you have said a vaccine is coming soon, within weeks now. Your own officials say it could take well into 2021 at the earliest for enough Americans to get vaccinated. And even then, they say the country will be wearing masks and distancing into 2022. Is your timeline realistic?
No, I think my timeline is going to be more accurate. I don't know that they're counting on the military the way I do, but we have our generals lined up, one in particular that's the head of logistics. And this is a very easy distribution for him. He's ready to go as soon as we have the vaccine. And we expect to have 100 million vials. As soon as we have the vaccine, he's ready to go.
Vice President Biden, your reaction, and just 40% of Americans say they would definitely agree to take a coronavirus vaccine if it was approved by the government. What steps would you take to give Americans confidence in a vaccine if it were approved?
Make sure it's totally transparent. Have the scientists of the world see it, know it, look at it, go through all the processes. And by the way, this is the same fellow who told you this is going to end by Easter last time. This is the same fellow who told you that, don't worry, we're going to end this by the summer. We're about to go into a dark winter. And he has no clear plan, and there's no prospect that there's going to be a vaccine available for the majority of the American people before the middle of next year.
President Trump, your reaction, he says you have no plan.
I don't think we're going to have a dark winter at all. We're opening up our country. We've learned and studied and understand the disease, which we didn't at the beginning. When I closed and banned China from coming in heavily infected, and then ultimately Europe, but China was in January. Months later, he was saying I was xenophobic. I did it too soon. Now he's saying, oh, I should have, moved quicker. But he didn't move quicker. He was months behind me, many months behind me. And frankly, he ran the H1N1 swine flu, and it was a total disaster, far less lethal. But
it's very simple. It sounds like the same exact same argument that we heard last time from both. Like it's the same question being answered the same way.
Would be dead right now, but it was a far less lethal disease. Look, his own person who ran that for him, who, as you know, was his chief of staff, said it was catastrophic. It was horrible. We didn't know what we were doing. Now he comes up and he tells us how to do this. Also, everything that he said about the way every single move that he said we should make, that's what we've done. We've done all of it. But he was way behind us.
Vice President Biden, your response.
My response is he is xenophobic, but not because he shut down access from China. And he did it late after 40 countries had already done that. In addition to that, what he did, he made sure that we had 44 people that were in there in China trying to get to Wuhan to determine what exactly the source was. What did the president say in January? He said, no, he said, he's being transparent. The president of China is being transparent. We owe him a debt of gratitude. We have to thank him. And then what happened was we started talking about using the Defense Act to make sure we go out and get whatever is needed out there to protect people. And again, I go back to this. He had nothing. He did virtually nothing. And then he gets out of the hospital and he talks about don't worry, it's all going to be over soon. Come on. There's not another serious scientist in the world who thinks it's going to be over soon.
President Trump, your reaction?
I say over soon. I say we're learning to live with it. We have no choice. We can't lock ourselves up in a basement like Joe does. He has the ability to lock himself up. I don't know. He's obviously made a lot of money someplace, but he has this thing about living in a basement. People can't do that. By the way, I, as the president, couldn't do that. I'd love to put myself in the basement or in a beautiful room in the White House and go away for a year and a half until it disappears. I can't do that. And Kirsten, every meeting I had, and I'd meet a lot of families, including Gold Star families and military families, every meeting I had, and I had to meet them. I had to. It would be horrible to have canceled everything. I said, this is dangerous. And you catch it. And, I caught it. I learned a lot. Great doctors, great hospitals. And now I recovered. 99.9% of young people recover. 99% of people recover. We have to recover. We can't close up our nation. We have to open our school, and we can't close up our nation, or you're not going to have a nation.
And of course, the CDC has said young people can get sick with COVID-19 and can pass it. Vice President Biden, I want to talk broadly about strategy, though. You have
Can I respond to that?
30 seconds, please, and then I have a question.
No, number one, he says that we're learning to live with it. People are learning to die with it. You folks home will have an empty chair at the kitchen table this morning. That man or wife going to bed tonight and reaching over to try to touch their, out of habit, where their wife or husband was, is gone. Learning to live with it. Come on. We're dying with it because he has never said, you said it's dangerous. When's the last time? Is it really dangerous still? Are we dangerous? You tell the people it's dangerous now? What should they do about the danger? And you say, I take no responsibility.
Let me talk about your two.
Excuse me, I take full responsibility. It's not my fault that he came here. It's China's fault. And you know what? It's not Joe's fault that he came here either. It's China's fault. They kept it from going into the rest of China for the most part, but they didn't keep it from coming out to the world, including Europe and ourselves.
Vice President Biden.
The fact is that when we knew it was coming, when it hit, what happened? What did the president
Debate
say?
sounds like a repeat
He said,
of
don't worry,
last
it's
one.
going to go away. Be gone by Easter. Don't worry. The warm weather. Don't worry. Maybe inject bleach. He said he was kidding when he said that, but a lot of people thought it was serious. A whole range of things the president
Why would
said.
you kid about
Even
that, though?
today,
It's such a weird thing to
he thinks
say.
we are in control. We're about to lose 200,000 more people.
President Trump.
Look, perhaps just to finish this, I was kidding on that, but just to finish this, when I closed, he said I shouldn't have closed. And that went on for months. Nancy Pelosi said the same thing. She was dancing on the streets in Chinatown in San Francisco. But when I closed, he said, this is a terrible thing. You're xenophobic. I think he called me racist. Even.
Yeah, the thing,
And because
although
I
Paul,
was
like most of
closing
these
into
debates
China,
end up this way
now he says
anyway.
I should have closed
It's
it
like
earlier.
they're not
Joe,
really.
it doesn't
I
work.
didn't
Problem is
say
they're not really
either of those things. You
conversations.
certainly did.
They're just sort of like talking
I
points.
talked about his xenophobia in a different
So they just have like
context.
these
It wasn't
talking
about
points that they usually have
closing
like
the border to
nailed down.
Chinese coming to the
And then
United
it's just
States.
sort of a
I
matter
wanna
of
talk about both of
like
your
who can
different
put their talking
strategies
points
to
out there in a
Though
way
I
that
shouldn't have closed the border.
in a way that's more
obvious.
persuasive to the
Do
audience.
you want to respond to that quickly, Vice President
No.
Biden? Okay.
No.
Let's talk about your different strategies toward dealing with this. Mr. Vice President, you suggested you would support new shutdowns if scientists recommended it. What do you say to Americans who are fearful that the cost of shutdowns, the impact on the economy, the higher rates of hunger, depression,
heck is my
domestic and
thing?
substance abuse outweighs the risk of exposure to the virus?
What I would say
There it
is I'm
is.
going to shut down the virus, not the country. It's his ineptitude that caused the country to have to shut down in large part. Why businesses have gone under, why schools are closed, why so many people have lost their living, and why they're concerned. Those other concerns are real. That's why he should have been, instead of in a sand trap at his golf course, he should have been negotiating with Nancy Pelosi and the rest of the Democrats and Republicans about what to do about the acts they were passing for billions of dollars to make sure people had the capacity.
But you haven't ruled out more shutdowns.
What is that? We're built
Well,
different
no,
meme. Where's
I'm
that
not
coming
shutting
from?
down the
You
neighborhood.
guys are
There
obsessed
are-
with that
look,
meme.
They need standards. The standard
Built
is
different?
if you
I
have
haven't
a
heard- I haven't,
reproduction rate in a community that's above a certain level, everybody says slow up. More social distancing. Do not open bars and do not open gymnasiums. Do not open until you get this under control, under more control. But when you do open, give the people the capacity to be able to open and have the capacity to do it safely. For example, schools. Schools, they need a lot of money to open. They need to deal with ventilation systems. They need to deal with smaller classes, more teachers, more pods. And
Have
he's
I
refused
fired a
to support
firearm
that
before?
money,
Yeah,
or at
I
least
have.
up to now.
Let's
Not
talk
that
about
much, though.
this. President Trump,
I think we have to respond, if I might.
please, and then I have a
I
follow-up.
can't say I have like a lot of
Appreciate that.
experience with it.
Look, all he does is talk about shutdowns, but forget about him. His Democrat governors, Cuomo in New York, you look at what's going on in California, you look at Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Democrats all, they're shut down so tight and they're dying. They're dying. And he supports all these people. All he talks about is shutdowns. No, we're not going to shut down, and we have to
Oh
open
my God,
our
I'm gonna
schools.
die.
And it's like, as an example,
Gotta
I
get a
have
perk
young
here that's
son.
gonna let me get
also
my
tested positive. By the
health
time I
back.
spoke to the doctor the second time, he was fine. It just went away. Young people. I guess it's their immune system.
Let me follow up with you, President Trump. You've demanded schools open in person and insist they can do it safely. But just yesterday, Boston became the latest city to move its public school system entirely online after
Oh, this thing just
coronavirus
keeps
spike.
regenerating,
What is
huh?
your message to parents who worry that sending their children to school will endanger not only their kids, but also their teachers and families?
I want to open the schools. The transmittal rate to the teachers is very small, but I want to open the schools. We have to open our country. We're not going to have a country. You can't do this. We can't keep this country closed. This is a massive country with a massive economy. People are losing their jobs. They're committing suicide. There's depression, alcohol, drugs at a level that nobody's ever seen before. There's abuse, tremendous abuse. We have to open our country. You know, I've said it often, the cure cannot be worse than the problem itself. And that's what's happening. And he wants to close down, he'll close down the country if one person in our massive bureaucracy says we should close it down.
Vice President Biden, your response.
Simply not true. We ought to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time.
Why is this game
We ought to
harder
be
than I
able to
remember
safely
it
open.
last time I played it?
But would they need resources to
Not even at the
open?
boss, and I'm
You
like
need to be
struggling.
able to, for example, if you're going to open a business, have social distancing within the business. You need to have, if you have a restaurant, you need to have plexiglass dividers so people cannot infect one another. You need to be in a position where you can take testing rapidly and know whether a person is in fact infected. You need to be able to trace. You need to be able to provide all the resources that are needed to do this. And that is not inconsistent with saying that what we're going to make sure that we open safely. And by the way, all you teachers out there, not that many of you are going to die, so don't worry about it. So don't worry about it. Come on.
President Trump, let me follow up with you quickly.
By the way, I will say this. If you go and look at what's happened to New York, it's a ghost town. It's a ghost town.
What's
And
up,
when
Bobby
you talk
Nov?
about plexiglass, these are restaurants that are dying. These are businesses with no money. Putting up plexiglass is unbelievably expensive, and it's not the answer. I mean, you're going to sit there in a cubicle wrapped around with plastic. These are businesses that are dying, Joe. You can't do that to people. You just can't. Take a look at New York and what's happened to my wonderful city for so many years. I loved it. It was vibrant. It's dying. Everyone's leaving New York.
Take a look at
Vice
what
President
New
Biden.
York has done in terms of turning the curve down in terms of the number of people dying. And I don't look at this in terms of the way he does. Blue states and red states. They're all the United States.
That's true.
And look at the
Plexiglass
states that
is
are
actually
having such a
expensive. I had to buy
spike
some recently.
in the coronavirus. They're the red states. They're the states
like
in the
40
Midwest.
bucks for
They're
like
the
a really
states in the
small
upper
little
Midwest.
piece.
That's where the spike is occurring significantly. But they're all Americans. They're all Americans. And what we have to do is say, wear these masks, number one. Make sure we get the help that the businesses need, that has money's already been passed to do that. It's been out there since the beginning of the summer, and nothing's happened.
President, New York has lost more than 40,000 people, 11,000 people in nursing homes.
President Trump, what
When you
about-
say
Not
starting,
necessarily agreeing with Trump.
take a
I'm
look
just
at
saying, I mean,
what's
I'm agreeing that
happening in
plexiglass is
Pennsylvania,
kind of pricey.
where they've had it closed. Take a look at what's happening with your friend in Michigan, where her husband's the only
but,
one
you
allowed
know,
to do anything. It's been like a
getting
prison.
getting medical
Now,
care
it
for
was
the
just
coronavirus
ruled
is also expensive.
unconstitutional. Take a look at North Carolina. They're having spikes, and they've been closed, and they're getting killed financially. We can't let that happen, Joe. You can't let that happen. We have to open up. And we understand the disease. We have to protect our seniors. We have to protect our elderly. We have to protect especially our seniors with heart problems and diabetes problems. And we will protect them. We have the best testing in the world by far. That's why we have so many cases.
Let me follow up with you before we move on to our next section. President Trump, this week you called Dr. Anthony Fauci, the nation's best-known infectious disease expert, quote, a disaster. You described him and other medical experts as, quote, idiots. If you're not listening to them, who are you listening to as you fight this?
I'm listening to all of them, including Anthony. I get along very well with Anthony. But he did say, don't wear masks. He did say, as you know, this is not going to be a problem. I think
because
he's
that's
a
the-
Democrat, but that's okay.
That's
He
because
said
the
this is
science
not
was
going to
changing.
be a
Like that's because
problem.
our understanding
We're
of
not gonna have a problem
like what was
at all.
effective was
When
changing,
Joe
wasn't
says
it?
that,
Like
I said, Anthony
yeah,
Fauci
we went
said,
back into
and
like
others,
masks.
and many
There was some.
others, and I'm not
We were
knocking
trying to
it
get our
out.
heads around
Nobody knew.
exactly what
Look,
was the best
nobody knew
protocol.
what this thing was. Nobody knew where it was coming from, what it was. We've learned a lot. But Anthony said, don't wear masks.
What do we got
Now he
here?
wants to wear masks. Anthony also said, if you look back, exact words, here's his exact words, this is no problem. This is going to go away soon. So he's allowed to make mistakes. He happens to be a good person.
Vice President Biden, your response quickly, and then we're going to move on to the next
My
section.
response is that think about what the president knew in January and didn't tell the American people. He was told this was a serious virus that spread in the air, and it was much worse than the flu. He went on record and said to one of your colleagues, recorded, that in fact he knew how dangerous it was, but he didn't want to tell us. He didn't want to tell us because he didn't want us to panic. He didn't want us. Americans don't panic. He panicked.
Yeah, I agree.
But guess
The art
what?
is really good,
In the
Zenda.
meantime, we find out in the New York Times
I'm gonna
every
die
day
here
that, in
because
fact,
I have, like, no
his
health at
folks
this
went to
point,
Wall Street and said,
and
this
I
is
haven't
a
been
really
able to beat
dangerous
this
thing, and a memo
part of the
out that
game.
meeting, not from his
And
administration,
so, yeah.
but from some of the brokers, said
This will be
sell
great.
short because we got to get movement. It's a dangerous problem.
Well, this is
I'm going to give you 30 seconds to respond, and then we're
The
going
Wall
to
Street
move
one,
on.
I don't know. Somebody went to Wall Street. You're the one that takes all the money from Wall Street. I don't take it.
I have.
You have raised a lot of money, tremendous amounts of money. And every time you raise money, deals are made, Joe. I could raise so much more money. As president and as somebody that knows most of those people, I could call the heads of Wall Street, the heads of every company in America. I would blow away every record, but I don't want to do that because it puts me in a bad position. And then you bring up Wall Street. You shouldn't be bringing up Wall Street because you're the one that takes the money from Wall Street, not me. I
Yeah,
could
see, I
blow
can't.
away your records that, like you wouldn't believe. We don't need money. We have plenty of money. In fact, we beat Hillary Clinton with a tiny fraction of the money that she was able
All right, gentlemen, we're going to move
Don't tell me
on.
about Wall
Average
We're gonna-
contribution, $43.
All right, we're going to move on to our next section, which is national security. And I do want to start with the security of our elections and some breaking news from overnight. Just last night, top intelligence officials confirmed again that both Russia and Iran are working to influence this election. Both countries have obtained
course they
U.S.
are.
voter registration information.
Everyone
these
trying to
officials
influence
say,
this election.
And Iran sent intimidating messages to Florida voters. This question goes to you, Mr. Vice President. What would you do to put an end to this threat? You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
I made it clear, and I ask everyone else to take the pledge. I made it clear that any country, no matter who it is, that interferes in American elections will pay a price. They will pay a price. And it's been overwhelmingly clear this election, I won't even get into the last one, this election, that Russia has been involved, China has been involved to some degree, and now we learn that Iran is involved. They will pay a price if I'm elected. They're interfering with American sovereignty.
gift here.
That's what's going on right now. They're interfering with American sovereignty. And to the best of my knowledge, I don't think the president said anything to Putin about it. I don't think he's stalking them a lot. I don't think he said a word. I don't know why he hadn't said a word to Putin about
Keepsake.
it. And I don't know what he has recently said, if anything, to the Iranians. My guess is he'd probably be more outspoken with regard to the Iranians. But the point is this, folks. We are in a situation where we have foreign countries trying to interfere in the outcome of our election. His own national security advisor told him that what is happening with his buddy, I will. His buddy, Rudy Giuliani, he's being used as a Russian pawn. He's being fed information that is Russian, that is not true. And then what happens? Nothing happens. And then you find out that everything that's going on here about Russia is wanting to make sure that I do not get elected the next president of the United States because they know I know them and they know me. I don't understand why this president is unwilling to take on Putin when he's actually paying bounties to kill American soldiers in Afghanistan, when he's engaged in activities that are trying to destabilize all of NATO. I don't know why he doesn't do it, but it's worth asking the question, why isn't that being done? Any country that interferes with us will, in fact, pay a price because they're affecting our sovereignty.
President Trump, same question to you. Let me ask the question. You're going to have 2 minutes to respond. For 2 elections in a row now, there has been substantial interference from foreign adversaries. What would you do in your next term to put an end to this? 2 minutes uninterrupted.
Well, let me respond to the first part, as Joe answered. Joe got $3.5 million from Russia, and it came through Putin because he was very friendly with the former mayor of Moscow.
What is this?
It was the
Keepsake.
mayor
Deal
of
10%
Moscow's
damage,
wife,
striking
and
damage to
you got
foes.
$3.5 million.
Also
Your family got $3.5 million, and you know someday you're going to have to explain why did you get 3.5. I never got any money from Russia. I don't get money from Russia. Now about your thing last night, I knew all about that, and through John Ratcliffe, who is fantastic, DNI, he said the one thing that's common to both of them, they both want you to lose, because there has been nobody tougher to Russia. Between the sanctions, nobody tougher than me on Russia. Between the sanctions, between all of what I've done with NATO, I've got the NATO countries to put up an extra $130 billion, going to $420 billion a year. That's to guard against Russia. I sold, while he was selling pillows and sheets, I sold tank busters to Ukraine. There has been nobody tougher on Russia than Donald Trump. And I'll tell you, they were so bad. They took over the submarine port. You remember that very well. During your term, during you and Barack Obama, they took over a big part of what should have been Ukraine. You handed it to them, but you were getting a lot of money from Russia. They were paying you a lot of money, and they probably still are. But now, with what came out today, it's even worse. All of the emails, the horrible emails of the kind of money that you were raking in, you and your family. And Joe, you were vice president when some of this was happening.
Why is
should have never happened.
all these every
I think
election
you
now is like
owe an
emails?
explanation to the
People got to be
American
better with
people.
their emails,
Why
man.
is it? Somebody just had a news conference a little while ago who was essentially supposed to work with you and your family, but what he said was damning. And regardless of me, I think you have to clean it up and talk to the American people. Maybe you can do it right now.
Vice President Biden, you may respond. In 30
Okay, straight
seconds.
here.
And then I do want to follow up on the election security.
I have not taken a penny from any foreign source ever in my life. We learned that this president paid 50 times the tax in China, has a secret bank account with China, does business in China, and in fact,
So
is
wait,
talking
let me get
about
this straight.
taking
Turns out
money. I have not taken a single penny
both
from
of them
any country
have sketchy
whatsoever. Number one.
money
Number
dealings.
two, this is a
Why am I not
president I
surprised?
released all
Politics,
of
huh?
my tax returns. 22 years. Go look at them. 22 years of my tax return. You have not released a single solitary year of your tax return. What are you hiding? Why are you unwilling? The foreign countries are paying you a lot. Russia's paying you a lot. China's paying you a lot. And your hotels and all your businesses all around the country, all around the world. And China's building a new road to a new a golf course you have overseas. So what's going on here? Why don't release your tax return or stop talking about corruption?
President Trump, your response.
First of all, I called my accountants under audit. I'm going to release them as soon as we can. I want to do it, and it'll show how successful, how great this company is. But much more importantly than that, people were saying $750. I asked them a week ago, I said, what did I pay? They said, sir, you prepaid tens of millions of dollars. I prepaid my tax. Tens over the last number of years. Tens of millions of dollars I prepaid. Because at some point they think it's an estimate. They think I may have to pay tax. So I already prepaid it. Nobody told me that.
Did your accountant
Nobody
tell you
told
when
you
you
that.
released
Excuse
them?
me. And it wasn't written whenever they write this. They keep talking about $750, which I think is a filing fee. But let me just tell you, I prepaid millions and millions of dollars in taxes. Number one. Number two, I don't make money from China. You do. I don't make money from Ukraine. You do. I don't make money from Russia. You made $3.5 million, Joe, and your son gave you. They even have a statement that we have to give 10% to the big man. You're the big man, I think. I don't know, maybe you're not, but you're the big man, I think. Your son said we have to give 10% to the big man. Joe, what's that all about?
Keep
It's
saying that.
terrible.
All right, gentlemen, I
big
want to
man,
ask you
big
both
man.
some questions
I have to
about all of this,
respond
but
to that.
I'm going to let you both respond very quickly. You just said you spoke to your accountant
Yes.
about potentially releasing your taxes. Did he tell you when you can release them? Do you
As
have
soon as the
a
audit-
deadline for when you're going to release them
I
to the
get
American
treated
people?
worse than the Tea Party got treated. Because
you
I have a
don't
lot
have
of
a time.
people in there, deep down in the IRS, they treat me horribly. We made a deal, it was all settled until I decide to run for president. I get treated very badly by the IRS, very unfairly. But we had a deal all done. As soon as we're completed with the deal, I want to release it. But I have paid millions and millions of dollars, and it's worse than paying. I paid in advance. It's called prepaying your taxes. I paid in advance.
I want to ask you both about questions regarding your potential foreign entanglements and questions that have been raised to give you both a chance to talk about this more broadly. Respond very quickly, and then I'll get to my question.
Why did he's been saying this for 4 years? Show us. Just show us. Stop playing around. You've been saying for 4 years you're going to reduce your taxes. Nobody knows it, Mr. President. What they do know is you're not paying your taxes, or you're paying taxes that are so low. When last time he said what he paid, he said, I only pay that little because I'm smart. I know how to game the system. Come on. Come on, folks.
So,
President Trump, and then I want to get to two questions to both of you.
Sure.
I was put through a phony witch hunt for 3 years.
Game is tough
It
for me.
started before I even got elected. They spied on my campaign. No president should ever have to go through what I went through. Let me just say this. Mueller and 18 angry Democrats and FBI agents all over the place spent $48 million. They went through everything I had, including my tax returns, and they found absolutely no collusion and nothing wrong. $48 million. I guarantee you, if I spent $1 million on you, Joe, I could find plenty wrong. Because
All right.
the kind of things that you've done and the kind of monies that your family has taken, I mean, your brother made money in Iraq, millions of dollars. Your other brother made a fortune, and it's all through you, Joe. And they say you get some of it, and you do live very well. You have houses all over the place. You live very well.
All right,
course,
gentlemen,
everyone-
let me just
every
ask some
politician at
questions
that
about
level
all of
lives
this
well.
broadly. Vice President Biden, there have been questions about the work your son has done in China and for a Ukrainian energy company when you were vice president. In retrospect, was anything about those relationships inappropriate or unethical?
Nothing was unethical. Here's what the deal. With regard to Ukraine, we had this whole question about whether or not, because he was on the board, I later learned of Burisma, a company, that somehow I had done something wrong. Yet every single solitary person, when he was going through his impeachment, testifying under oath who worked for him, said, I did my job impeccably. I carried out U.S. policy. Not one single solitary thing was out of line. Not a single thing, number one. Number two, the guy who got in trouble in Ukraine was this guy trying to bribe the Ukrainian government to say something negative about me, which they would not do and did not do because it never, ever, ever happened. My son has not made money in terms of this thing about, what are you talking about, China. I have not had, the only guy made money from China is this guy. He's the only one. Nobody else has made money from China.
President Trump,
Talking about everyone makes money from China that has businesses in China, huh?
His son didn't have a job for a long time, was sadly no longer in the military service. I won't get into that. And he didn't have a job. As soon as he became vice president, Burisma, not the best reputation in the world. I hear they paid him $183,000 a month. Listen to this. 183, and they gave him a $3 million upfront payment.
All right.
And he had no energy.
I'm gonna let
Okay,
Vice
so
President
far
Trump
this debate
answer
has
that.
it's
Get
basically
your
been
question to you.
entirely about what have you done, what did you do, what did you do, what did you do? You did this, no, you did this. Well, you got this money, no, you got that money. Well, what about those emails? Well, what about your tax returns? What about this? You're a bad person more than I am a bad person. It's like, okay, what do you? Can we ask questions like a little more interesting here? We get it. We know that most politicians have some sketchy stuff and aren't the best.
I have many bank accounts, and they're all listed, and they're all over the place. I mean, I was a businessman doing business. The bank account you're referring to, which is everybody knows about it, it's listed. The bank account was in 2013. That's what it was. It was opened it was closed in 2015, I believe. And then I decided, because I was thinking about doing a deal in China like millions of other people. I was thinking about it, and I decided I'm not going to do it. Didn't like it. I decided not to do it.
Thinking about doing a
Had
deal
an
in
account
China like
open,
millions of
and I
other
closed
people.
it.
Okay.
Excuse me. And then, unlike him,
there's-
where he's vice president and he does business, I then decided to run for president
again.
after that. That was before. So I closed it before I even ran for president, let alone became president. Big difference. He is the vice president of the United States, and his son, his brother, and his other brother are getting rich. They're like a vacuum cleaner. They're sucking
Okay,
up money every
President Trump,
place he
thank you. We
goes.
do need
Not
to
true.
move on. I do want to ask you,
Okay, I needed that
Vice
curse
President
slash
Biden,
thing. That's
about
actually
China.
good.
Let's talk about China more broadly. There have, of course,
What is this?
President Trump has said that they should pay for
Exclamation?
not being fully transparent in regards to the coronavirus. If you were president, would you make China pay? And please be specific. What would that look like?
What I'd make China do is play by the international rules, not like he has done. He has caused the deficit of China to go up, not down. with China, up, not down. We are making sure that in order to do business in China, you have to give all your intellectual property. You have to have a partner in China. It's 51%. We would not do that at all, number one. Number two, we're in a situation where China would have to play by the rules internationally as well. When I met with Xi, when I was still vice president, he said we're setting up air identification zones in the South China Sea. You can't fly through them. I said we're going to fly through them. We just flew B-52, B-1 bombers through it. We're not
Later,
gonna pay
Abhinav.
attention. They have to play by the rules. And what's he do? He embraces guys like the thugs like in North Korea and the Chinese president and Putin and others, and he pokes his finger in the eye of all of our friends, all of our allies. We make up we're 25% of the world's economy. We need to be having the rest of our friends with us saying to China, these are the rules. You play by them or you're going to pay the price for not paying by them economically. That's the way I will run it, and that's what we did in upholding steel tariffs and a range of other things when we were president and vice president.
All right, let's talk about North Korea.
Excuse me, no, I have to respond to that.
Okay. Very quickly, and then we're going to move on to North Korea.
With $1.5 billion from China to manage after spending 10 minutes in office and being in Air Force 2, number one. Number two, there's a very strong email talking about your family wanting to make $10 million a year for introductions.
President Trump, on China policy, though, what specifically are you going to do? What specifically are you going to do to make China pay? You've said you're going to make them pay.
China is paying. They're paying billions and billions of dollars. I just gave $28 billion.
New sanctions?
Already I
I
lost
just gave
15
$28
health just
billion
off the bat.
to our farmers.
Taxpayers' money.
It's what?
Taxpayers' money. Didn't come from China.
You know the taxpayer is, it's called China. China paid $28 billion, and you know what they did to pay it, Joe? They devalued their currency, and they also paid up. And you know who got the money? Our farmers, our great farmers, because they were targeted. You never charged them anything. Also, I charged them 25% on dumped steel because they were killing our steel industry. We were not going to have a steel industry.
Okay.
And now we have a steel industry.
Okay, Vice President Biden, your response, please.
Our response is, look, this isn't about, there's a reason why he's bringing up all this malarkey. There's a reason
Malarkey.
for it. He doesn't want to talk about the substantive
Big fan of
issues.
that word,
It's not about
malarkey.
his family and my family. It's about your family. And your family's hurting badly. If you're making less than, if you're a middle-class family, you're getting hurt badly right now. You're sitting at the kitchen table this morning deciding, well, we can't get new tires, they're bald because we have to wait another month or so. Or are we going to be able to pay the mortgage? Or who's going to tell her she can't go back to community college? They're the decisions you're making in the middle-class families like I grew up in Scranton and Claymont. They're in trouble. We should be talking about your families, but that's the last thing he wants to talk about.
I want to talk about
statement.
North Korea.
Excuse me, just
I do
for
want
1
to
second,
turn to
please.
10 seconds, Mr. President.
That's
10
a
seconds.
typical political statement. Let's get off this China thing, and then he looks. The family, around the table, everything. Just a typical politician when I see that.
Let's talk about
I'm not
North
a typical
Korea now.
politician.
Okay,
That's why I got elected.
That's
Now,
true.
let's get
Trump,
off
you
the
are not a
subject of
typical
China. Let's
politician.
talk around
That
sitting
you are
around
right
the
on.
table.
All right.
Come on, Joe, you can do better.
We're going to talk about North Korea now. President Trump, you've met with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un 3 times. You've talked about your beautiful letters with him. You've touted the fact that there hasn't been a war or a long-range missile test. And yet North Korea recently rolled out its biggest ever intercontinental ballistic missile and continues to develop its nuclear arsenal. Do you see that as a betrayal of the relationship you forged? Just 30 seconds here because we need to get on to the next one.
So when I met with Barack Obama, we sat in the White House right at the beginning, had a great conversation. It was supposed to be 15 minutes, and it was well over an hour. He said the biggest problem we have with North Korea. He indicated we will be in a war with North Korea. Guess what? It would be a nuclear war, and he does have plenty of nuclear capability.
Oh, no. This
In the
stuff.
meantime, I have a very good relationship with him. Different kind of a guy, but he probably thinks the same thing about me. We have a different kind of a relationship. We have a very good relationship, and there's no war. And you know, about 2 months ago, he broke into a certain area. They said, oh, there's going to be trouble. I said, no, they're not.
Okay, I gotta win
because he's
now.
not going
Come
to
on
do
now.
that. And I was right. Look, instead of being in a war where millions of people, Seoul, you know, is 25 miles away, millions and millions, 32 million people, and so millions of people would be dead right now.
President
We
Trump,
don't have
that's
a war,
30
and I have a
seconds.
good
Thank
relationship.
you. Vice President Biden, to you. North Korea conducted 4 nuclear tests under the Obama administration. Why do you think you would be able to rein in this persistent threat right
Because I'd make it clear, which we were making clear to China, they had to be part of the deal. Because here's I made it clear, and as a spokesperson of the administration when I went to China, that they said, why are you moving your missile defense up so close? Why are you moving more forces here? Why are you continuing to do military maneuvers with South Korea? I said, because North Korea is a problem, and we're going to continue to do it so we can control them. We're going to make sure we can control them and make sure they cannot hurt us. And so if you want to do something about it, step up and help. If not, it's going to continue. What has he done? He's legitimized North Korea. He's talked about his good buddy who's a thug, and he talks about how we're better off. And they have much more capable missiles, able to reach U.S. territory much more easily than ever did before.
Let me follow up with you, Vice President Biden. You've said you wouldn't meet with Kim Jong-un without preconditions. Are there any conditions under which you would meet with him?
On the condition that he would agree that he would be drawing down his nuclear capacity to get that the Korean Peninsula should be nuclear-free zone.
All right, let's move on to American families.
They tried
Very
to
quickly,
meet with
10
him.
seconds,
They
President.
tried to meet with him. He wouldn't do it. He didn't like Obama. He didn't like him. He wouldn't do it.
Okay,
I know
I gotta
for
give him a
fact they
chance to
tried.
respond to that
He
before we
wouldn't
move
do
on.
it.
You
And
know,
that's okay. You know what? North Korea, we're not in a war. We have a good relationship. You know, people don't understand. Having a good
President
relationship
Trump,
with
we have to
leaders
move
of other
on, 'cause
countries
we have
is a good
We
thing.
have a lot of questions to get
Yes,
to.
not
Your
a-
Like
response.
saying we had a good relationship with Hitler before he, in fact, invaded Europe, the rest of Europe. Come on. The reason he would not meet with President Obama is because President Obama said, we're going to talk about denuclearization. We're not going to legitimize you, and we're going to continue to put stronger and stronger sanctions on you. That's why he wouldn't meet with us.
All right,
And it
let's
didn't
move
happen.
on. Let's
Excuse
move on
me.
and talk about
He left
American
me a
families.
mess, Kristen.
President Trump, okay, we do
They
need to move
left
on.
me a mess. North Korea was a mess.
We
And in
need to
fact,
move
if
on
you
so that
remember
we
the
can get
first
to
2
all
or
of
3
our
months,
questions tonight,
there was a
President
very
Trump.
dangerous period in my first 3 months before we sort of worked things out a little bit.
Okay.
There was a they left us a mess. And Obama would be, I think, the first to say it was the single biggest problem he thought that our country.
Okay, let's move on to American families and the economy. One of the issues that's most important to them is health care, as you both know. Today, there was a key vote on a new Supreme Court Justice, Amy Coney Barrett, and health care is at the center of her confirmation fight. Over 20 million Americans get their health insurance through the Affordable Care Act. It's headed to the Supreme Court, and your administration, Mr. President, is advocating for the court to overturn it. If the Supreme Court does overturn that law, those 20 million Americans could lose their health insurance almost overnight. So what would you do if those people have their health insurance taken away? You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
Sure. First of all, I've already done something that nobody thought was possible. Through the legislature, I terminated the individual mandate. That is the worst part of Obamacare, as we call it. The individual mandate where you have to pay a fortune for the privilege of not having to pay for bad health insurance. I terminated. It's gone. Now it's in court because Obamacare is no good. But then I made a decision. Run it as well as you can to my people, great people. Run it as well as you can. I could have gone the other route and made everybody very unhappy. They ran it. Premiums are down. Everything's down. Here's the problem. No matter how well you run it, it's no good. What we'd like to do is terminate it. We have the individual mandate done. I don't know that it's going to work. If we don't win, we will have to run it, and we'll have Obamacare, but it'll be better run. But it no longer is Obamacare, because without the individual mandate, it's much different. Pre-existing conditions will always stay. What I would like to do is a much better health care, much better, will always protect people with pre-existing. So I'd like to terminate Obamacare, come up with a brand new, beautiful health care. The Democrats will do it because there'll be tremendous pressure on them, and we might even have the House by that time, and I think we're going to win the House, okay? You'll see, but I think we're going to win the House. But come up with a better health care, always protecting people with pre-existing conditions. And one thing very important, we have 180 million people out there that have great private health care, far more than we're talking about with Obamacare. Joe Biden is going to terminate all of those policies. These are people that love their health care, people that have been successful, middle-income people. been successful. They have 180 million plans, 180 million people, families, under what he wants to do, which will basically be socialized medicine. He won't even have a choice. They want to terminate 180 million plans. We have done an incredible job on health care, and we're going to do even better.
Okay, Vice President Biden, yes, this is for you. Your
What, did he
healthcare
get
plan
muted?
calls for building on Obamacare. So my question is, what is your
He run
plan
out of time?
if the law is ruled unconstitutional by the Supreme Court? You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
What I'm going to do is pass Obamacare with a public option. Become Biden care. The public option is an option that says that if you, in fact, do not have the wherewithal to be, if you qualify for Medicaid and you do not have the wherewithal in your state to get Medicaid, you automatically are enrolled, providing competition for insurance companies. That's what's going to happen. Secondly, we're going to make sure we reduce the premiums and reduce drug prices by making sure that there's competition that doesn't exist now by allowing the Medicare to negotiate drug prices with the insurance companies. Thirdly, the idea that I want to eliminate private insurance, the reason why I had such a fight with 20
Because
candidates
people are
for the
inherently, they want to put their
nomination
name on
was,
stuff.
I support
Slayer.
private insurance. That's
Everyone wants to
why
have
I
their
do.
name on it so
Not
that their
one
name doesn't
single person with
disappear.
private insurance would lose their insurance
Because if it's
under my
Biden
plan,
care,
nor
then it's
did
Biden
they
care for a
under
while until the next one
Obamacare.
comes along.
They did not lose their insurance unless they chose they wanted to go to something else. Lastly, we're going to make sure we're in a situation that we actually protect
You know what I mean?
pre-existing. There's no way he can protect pre-existing conditions. None. Zero. You can't do it in the ether. He's been talking about.
I mean, why do you
this for a
think my
long
name is on
time.
my
There
webcam
is
frame?
No, he's never come up with a plan. I guess we're going to get the pre-existing
end.
conditions plan the same time we get the infrastructure plan that we've been waiting since 17, 18, 19, and 20.
What's up, Blue?
I still have a few more minutes. I know you're getting anxious. The fact is that he's already cost the American people, because of his terrible handling of the COVID virus and the economic spillover, 10 million people have lost their private insurance. And he wants to take away 22 million more people who have it under Obamacare, and over 110 million people with pre-existing conditions, and all the people from COVID are going to have pre-existing conditions. What are they going to do?
I have a follow-up for you, Vice President Biden. It relates to something that President Trump said. He's accusing you of wanting socialized medicine. What do you say to people who have concerns that your health care plan, which includes a government insurance option, takes the country one step closer to a health care system run entirely by the government? What's
I
your
say
response
it's
to that?
ridiculous. It's like saying that, we're the idea that the fact that there's a public option that people can choose, that makes it a socialist plan. Look, the difference between the president, I think health care is not a privilege, it's a right. Everyone should have the right to have affordable health care. And I am very proud of my plan. It's gotten endorsed by all the major labor unions, as well as a whole range of other people who, in fact, are concerned in the medical field. This is something that's going to save people's lives, and this is going to give some people an opportunity to have health care for their children. How many of you home are worried and rolling around in bed tonight wondering what in God's name you're going to do if you get sick? Because you've lost your home insurance, your health insurance, your company's gone under. We have to provide health insurance for people at an affordable rate, and that's what I do.
President Trump,
Excuse me, he was
your
there
response.
for 47 years. He didn't do it. He was now there as vice president for 8 years, and it's not like it was 25 years ago. It was 3 3/4. It was just a little while ago.
I
Right?
can't keep
Less
up with
than
your.
4 years
I
ago.
can't monitor
He
two
didn't do
debates
anything.
happening at
He
the same
didn't do it.
time.
He wants socialized medicine, and it's not.
But
that
from
he
what I've
wants it as
seen,
vice
it seems like
president.
there's some
I mean,
legitimate.
she is
points
more
being
liberal
made.
than Bernie Sanders and wants it even more. Bernie Sanders
I would love to
wants
see
it.
you
The
square
Democrats
off
want it.
against
You're
one of
going
these
to have
two
socialized medicine,
in a real
just like you
forum
went
with a real
fracking.
moderator.
We're not going to have fracking. We're going to stop fracking.
What
We're
is
gonna stop
your? I mean,
fracking. Then
give
he
me
goes
your.
to
What is your
Pennsylvania
number
after he
one
gets a
like
nomination. We'll
platform
get
that you're
very
running
lucky
on?
again.
If you had to
And he
like,
goes to
what's your
Pennsylvania,
campaign
and he
slogan?
says, "Oh, we're gonna
Right?
have
Like
fracking."
Trump's is "Make America Great
And he never
Again."
asked that question. And by the
Biden's
way,
is-
so far, I respect very much the way you're
What is
handling this, I
Biden's?
have to say.
By the way-
But somebody should ask the question.
Build Back
You can
Better,
actually
right?
Because
Build
for a
Back
year,
Better.
There will be
We
no fracking, there
do
will
have
be
a
no-
number of
Anti-obesity?
topics.
No, no,
That's
but
you're running
that's-
entirely on an
the question
anti-obesity campaign?
We're gonna get to
It's the same thing with socialized
I have to
medicine.
respond.
Vice President, your response, please.
My response is people deserve to have affordable health care.
That's true, Blue. This isn't really like a legitimate debate
And the Biden
thing,
care
right?
proposal will, in fact, provide for that affordable health care, lower premiums. And what we're going to do is going to cost some money.
I mean,
It's gonna cost
anti-obesity
over
is not a bad
$750
start.
billion
I
over
think
10
that's related
years
to
do it.
healthcare. So I would
And
ask
you're
you,
gonna have lower premiums. You can
with
buy
your
them with better
anti-obesity
plans,
campaign,
cheaper plans,
are you
lower your
planning on,
premiums,
how are you
deal with
planning on accomplishing
unexpected
a zero-rate obesity in the country? Are you planning on socialized medicine, healthcare for all? Is it a privatized situation?
Kristen, when he
Very quickly,
says
then I want to talk
I would push back on you saying that obesity tends to target the lowest socioeconomic classes in our country who might not be able to afford privatized Medicare. What's your solution there?
Social Security, and this whole country will come down. You know, Bernie Sanders tried it.
Wait, do I have to go all the way back to the
He
beginning?
tried
Because
it
if
in
I
his
do, I
state.
swear
His
to God.
governor was a very liberal governor. They want to make it work.
Okay, let's hear.
I have heard of liposuction, but it's not. It's a pricey procedure, and that's a stopgap. Liposuction doesn't cure the. Liposuction basically doesn't actually change the underlying health conditions of an obese person.
The idea that we're in a situation that they're going to destroy Medicare. This is the guy that the actuary at Medicare
Like so, for
said,
example,
if, in fact,
there's a lot of
Social
arterial
Security,
buildup
if, in
and
fact,
plaque
he continues
deposits
to
and
withhold
stress on the
his plan to
cardiovascular
withhold
system
the tax
that
on
just
Social
removing the
Security.
excess
Social
subcutaneous
Security will
fat
be
doesn't necessarily
bankrupt
address.
by
It might make the person look less
no way to make up
overweight,
for
maybe
it.
reduce their
This is the
actual
guy
weight, but
who's
it doesn't
tried to
necessarily
cut
cure the
Medicare.
underlying
So
problems.
I mean, the idea that Donald Trump is lecturing
And the other
me
problem
on
with that is
Social
that people could
Security
just
and
put the
Medicare?
weight back on
Come on.
after liposuction.
He
It
tried
doesn't
to
address
get
the
rid of-
habits
he tried to hurt
or the
Social
underlying
Security years ago.
issues that
Years
need to be
ago.
fixed
Go back and look at the
for a better
records. He
lifestyle.
tried to hurt Social Security years ago.
All
One
right,
thing-
let's move
but
on.
this
I'm
is
going
the
to move
guy
on.
that
Let me-
when they
let's
announced-
Mandatory
let's
exercise
move on to the
routines?
next question.
Is this going to be like those companies in Japan where like everyone goes out and like just like calisthenics together before work?
Let me move on to the next question very quickly.
Look, the idea that the stock market is booming is his only measure of what's happening. Where I come from in Scranton and Claymont, the people don't live off of the stock market. Just in the last
Oh, there she is. Okay, she's back in here.
crisis, the billionaires in this country made, according to the Wall Street, $700 billion more dollars. $700 billion more dollars, because that's his only measure. What happens to the ordinary people out there? What happens to them?
Let's talk about what's happening on Capitol Hill. We're going to move on, gentlemen.
401ks are through the roof.
We're gonna
People's
move on.
stock are through the roof.
All
And
right.
he doesn't come from
PE
Scranton.
in its current
That's
state.
like he lived there for a short period of
gonna-
time before
okay,
he even knew
we're
it.
gonna move on
and
to
he
the
left.
next
And
question.
the people of Pennsylvania
Let me
will
move
show
on
you
to my
that.
next question,
They
gentlemen.
understand.
As of tonight, more than 12 million people are out of work, and as of tonight, 8 million more Americans have fallen into poverty, and more families are going hungry every day. Those hit hardest are women and people of color. They see Washington fighting over a relief bill. Mr. President, why haven't you been able to get them the help they need? 30 seconds here.
Because Nancy Pelosi
Yeah, I
doesn't want
don't.
to
There's
approve it.
not
I
an
do.
But
easy.
you're the president.
I do, but I still have to get. Unfortunately, that's one of the reasons.
not
I
an
think
easy
we're gonna take
solution to
over
the
House
whole,
because
like,
of her.
the
Nancy
health
Pelosi
crisis.
doesn't want to approve anything
Because
she'd
it
love
does
to have some
require,
victories on a date called November 3rd.
does
Nancy
require
Pelosi
a
does
level of a
not want
dedication
approve
to
it. We are ready,
exercise
willing,
that
and able to do
is
something. Don't
hard
forget,
to
we've
enforce,
already
right? It
approved
has to
3
come kind
bills,
of from
and it's
within.
gone through,
But I
including
think
the
education
Democrats, in
can
all
lead people
fairness.
to
This
sort of
one she
make
doesn't want.
decisions
It's near the election because she thinks it
that might
helps
be
her
beneficial for them.
politically. I think
But
it hurts her politically.
ultimately, yeah, I don't
Mr.
know if you
Vice
can
President,
force
no.
The
people.
Republican leader in
I mean, mandatory
in the
exercise
United
sounds
States
pretty
Senate
rough.
said he can't pass it. He will not be able to pass it. He does not have Republican votes. Why isn't he talking to his Republican friends?
Let me follow
attack
up with you, Vice President
we made a
Biden,
deal, the
because let me
Republicans
ask
will
Vice President Biden a question. You are the leader of the Democratic Party. Why have you not pushed the Democrats to get a deal for the American people?
Well, I have, and they have pushed it. Look, they passed
Ooh,
this
what is
act
this?
all
What
the
is
way
this?
back
What
in
is
the
this?
beginning of the summer. This is like it's not new.
New
It's
weapon.
been out there.
Malfin the
This
twin
HEROES Act has
fists.
been sitting there. And look
Whoa,
at what's
dude.
happening. When I was in charge of the Recovery Act with $800 billion, I was able to get $145
good.
billion to local communities
Ooh,
that
rising
have to
cutter.
balance their budgets, and states that have to balance their budgets, so then have to fire
like Mike Tyson,
firefighters,
Fist
teachers,
of
first
Furies.
responders, law enforcement
While
officers, so they
dashing
can
to
keep their
dash
cities
right.
and counties running. He will not support that. They have not done a thing for them. And Mitch McConnell said, let them go bankrupt.
I'm gonna try these out.
Let them go bankrupt. Come on. What's the matter
The bill
with
that
these
was
guys?
passed in the House was a bailout of badly run, high crime, Democrat, all run
Vegetable
by Democrats,
in all the
cities
fast
and
food.
states. It was a way of getting a
That's
lot
not a
of
bad
money,
move.
billions and billions
BC
of dollars to
deleted.
these kids. It was
Yeah,
also a
imagine
way
if
of
we
getting
just,
a lot of money
that would,
from
I'll be
our
honest,
people's
if you just
pockets to
eliminated
people that come
most
into
of
our country illegally.
most of fast food,
We were going to take
or
care
like
of
had
everything
standards,
for them. And
you
what
probably
that
could
does, and
eliminate
I'd
it,
love
but the
to
problem
do
is that
I'd love
costs
to help
more.
them, but what that does, everybody
have to
all over the
subsidize
world
it in
will start
different
pouring
ways.
into our country. We can't do it. This was a way of taking care of them. This was a way of
Your attack
spending on
becomes a
things that had
3-hit
nothing to do
sequence.
with COVID, as per your question. But it was really a big bailout for badly run Democrat cities and states.
All right, I want
If
to.
I get elected, I'm running as a proud Democrat, but I'm going to be an American president. I don't see red states and blue states. What I see is American, United States. And folks, every single state out there finds themselves in trouble. They're going to start laying off, whether they're red or blue, cops, firefighters, first responders, because teachers, because they have to balance their budget. And the founders were smart. They allowed the federal government to deficit
Tax
spend
breaks
to
for skinny
compensate
people.
for the United States of America.
I want to talk
How
about the
skinny?
minimum
Like, what's the
wage.
cutoff?
Mr.
Is it?
Vice
Are you going
President, we are talking
BMI? Like, how are you going to
about
measure that?
small
Because
businesses and
you could have a really,
business owners
really
these
high
days.
BMI, but
Do
be
you
like really
think this is the
muscular,
right
you know, and
time
like
to ask
in
them to
shape, but you
raise the
just
minimum
are like a
wage and for
bodybuilder.
support a $15
How do you measure
minimum
skinny?
wage?
Like, how do you
because I
measure?
think one of the things
These are
we're
very
gonna have
vague
to do is we're
terms.
gonna have to bail them out,
Candidate
too. We
Haxwell,
should be
I
bailing
am
them
I'm
out
surprised at
now.
your
Those small
flippancy with the
businesses,
use of these
you got
terms
1
and
in 6
language.
of
It
them going under.
doesn't bode well
They're
for
not gonna
your
be able to make it back.
your
They
presidential
passed
run.
a package that allows us to be able to call PPP. Money is supposed to go to help them do everything from organize how they can deal with their businesses being open safely. Schools, how they can make classrooms smaller, how they can hire more teachers, how they can put ventilation systems in. They need the help. The businesses as well as the schools need the help. But these guys will not help them. Is not giving them
Well,
any
Slayer,
money.
it's easier to get obese than skinny. But it's always going to be that way. Because when you say easier, what do you mean? Because I would argue that like just doing nothing and being lazy and eating as much as you can is basically easier than like, you know, monitoring your diet, eating things that don't taste quite as good but are healthier for you, and actually going out and exercising. These are all like difficult things. So I think inherently it's just by like default it's harder to be in shape than out of shape in a sedentary society like the United States, where everyone's, especially right now with, you know, I'm curious what the health impacts are going to be of this lockdown, right? Like I think about myself, like I'm not getting nearly as much exercise. I'm just sitting behind my computer all day. Like at least before when I was teaching, I was actually I was actually standing up most of the day, which you'd be surprised the difference just standing all day versus sitting all day makes. That the extra, it might not seem like a lot, but it actually is a big difference.
2 jobs, 1 job, be below poverty. People are making $6, $7, $8 an hour. These first responders, we all clap for as they come down the street because they've allowed us to make it. What's happening? They deserve a minimum wage of $15. Anything below that puts you below the poverty level. And there is no evidence that when you raise the minimum wage, businesses go out of business. That is simply not true.
We're going to talk about immigration. We're going to talk about immigration now, gentlemen, and we're going to talk about families within this context. Mr. President, your administration separated children from their parents at the border, at least 4,000 kids. You've since reversed your zero-tolerance policy, but the United States can't locate the parents of more than 500 children. So how will these families ever be reunited?
Children are brought here by coyotes and lots of bad people, cartels, and they're brought here, and they used to use them to get into our country. We now have as strong a border as we've ever had. We're over 400 miles of brand new wall. You see the numbers, and we let people in, but they have to come in legally, and they come in through merit.
But how will you reunite
Let me
these
just tell
kids
you,
with their
let me just
families,
tell you,
Mr.
They
President?
built cages. You know, they used to say, I built the cages, and then they had a picture in a certain newspaper, and it was a picture of these horrible cages, and they said, look at these cages. President Trump built them, and then it was determined they were built in 2014. That was him.
Do you
They
have a
built
plan to
cages.
reunite the kids
Yes,
with
we're
their
working on
families?
it we're trying very hard. But a lot of these kids come out without the
So,
parents. They
Slayer,
come
why is it
over
easier
through
for us to do
cartels
nothing
and
than
through
for us to do
coyotes and
something?
through gangs.
Vice President Biden,
I think it's just an
let me move into this
energetics
one.
question,
Quick
right?
response and then another question to you.
These 500 plus kids.
Right, things require
came
energy.
with
Like to do
parents.
something requires energy, and energy is not something that's necessarily free, right? Like, so for example,
Real tough. We're really strong.
energy conservation
And guess
is really
what?
important
They
for
cannot-
organisms. Like our
that
evolution is sort of
coyotes didn't
selected
bring
for
over.
being
Their
as
parents
energy
were
efficient
with
as
them.
possible.
They got
So it's like if
separated
you
from
don't
their
need to
parents.
move around and do
And it makes
something,
us a laughing
then
stock
why
and
would you waste
violates
energy
every
because it was
notion
hard to
of who
come
we
by?
are as a
The
nation.
problem is that in our society,
ask you a follow-up
energy is
They
not
did
hard to
it.
come by because
We
humans have
changed
gotten
the
so good at
policy.
extracting
You're
energy
We
from
did not
the
build
earth
the cages.
and producing
Who built the
things
cages?
that are
Let's
energy-rich
talk about who
foods
built the cages.
that didn't
Let's
exist
talk about
before.
what we're
Like
talking
pure
about.
sugar
What happened?
does not
Parents
exist in
were
nature
ripped-
really,
their
like
kids were
unless
ripped
it's
from
very
their
small
arms
quantities.
and
Like,
separated.
so for example, like some
And now they
like fruits
cannot
of
find
trees
over
have like a pretty
500
dense source of
sets those
sugar.
parents, and those kids are alone. Nowhere to
And that's
go.
really like there's
Nowhere
really
to go.
not pure
It's
sugar
criminal.
existing in nature,
It's criminal.
right?
me ask
But
you
we've
a
been able to
question.
just sort of
10 seconds.
concentrate sugar so easily that
They are so well
we have such
taken
access
care
to
of.
energy
They're in facilities that were so
and don't really have to
clean.
do
Some of
anything
them
for
have
it.
been reunited
And
with
our
Just answer
our
one
natural
question.
like
Who built the
state
cages?
is that's
I'd
not
love
the
you to
case in
answer
like an
that. Who built
evolutionary
the
sense.
cages?
We would
Let me
have to
ask
like be
about
very
immigration policy,
conscious
Mr.
of how
Vice
much
President.
energy we
The
exert
Obama
because we're not
administration did
going
fail
to
to
stumble
deliver
upon energy just
immigration reform, which had been a
so
key
easily. So
promise during
it makes
the
sense that we would
administration.
just sort
It
of
also
naturally
presided
want to
over
be
record
sedentary.
deportations as well as family detentions at the border before changing course.
Yeah, but the
So
thing
why
is with
should
sugar,
voters
even
trust you with an
sugarcane, like,
immigration overhaul now?
have you ever taken a bite out of sugarcane? It's not like pure sweet. There's a lot of fiber mixed into it. Like you'd have to eat a lot of sugarcane, and there's a lot of fiber and like tough
And the
stuff
fact is, I've made it very
to get
clear.
the amount of sugar you get in like
Within
a soda,
100 days,
right?
I'm going to send to the United States Congress a pathway to
It's all about
citizenship for
concentration.
over 11 million undocumented people.
High
And
concentrations
all
of sugar
those
don't really exist in
so-called
nature,
dreamers, those DACA
aside from like
kids,
very
they're
small
going to
fruits.
be
And even the
immediately
fruits that
certified again to be
exist
able to
today are
stay
much
in this
larger
country
due to a
and
genetic
put on a path to
engineering and
citizenship. The idea
you know,
that they are
intentional
being
breeding
sent home
than they
by
were
this
in the
guy and
past.
They want to do that is they've gone to a country they've never seen before. I can imagine you're 5 years old, your parents are taking you across the Rio Grande River and it's illegal. And you say, oh no, Mom, leave me here. I'm not going to go with you. They've been here. Many of them are model citizens. Over 20,000 of them are first responders out there taking care of people during this crisis. We owe them. We owe them.
What if we use
President
natural
Trump,
selection
yeah.
for
8
energy?
years to do what he said he was going to do. And I've changed without having a specific. We got rid of
I would
catch and
argue that,
release.
well,
We
natural
got
selection
rid of a
focused on
lot of
intelligence a
horrible
little
things
bit,
that they put
right? I
in
mean, obviously, if you
and
think
that they
about how
were doing.
why
But
humans
he
are
had
so
8
successful,
years he was vice
it's because
president.
we
He
have
did nothing
pretty highly
except
evolved,
build cages to keep children in.
highly specialized
President Biden, your response.
The
brains,
catch and release. You
like
know what he's talking
prefrontal
about there?
cortexes,
If in fact
that
you
are really
had
good at rational
family
thought.
came across
And we're
and
actually
they were
pretty good
arrested,
at. You'd be,
They,
you
in
know,
fact,
like
were given
so.
a
Here,
date
I'll
to
give you.
show up
I'll
for their
just sort of
hearing.
say one thing. Like,
They were released.
we do have
And
the
guess
ability
what?
to
They
do what's called
showed up
delayed
for
gratification
hearing.
pretty well.
This is the
Like we
first
can
president in
sacrifice
history of the
immediate
United States
reward for
of America
long-term
that
reward,
anybody seeking
which is something that makes
asylum
humans pretty
has to do it in another
adaptable and
country.
like pretty
That's never happened before in
pretty
America.
like successful, right?
That's never happened
Most
before in
animals
America.
don't
You
have
come
that
to the
ability
United
to sort
States
of
and you make your
rationalize
case
future reward.
that you
So,
seek asylum
like
based
if
on the
you,
following- on
like
the
for example,
following
a
premise,
dog
why I
cannot
deserve it
like
under American law.
will not forego
They're
food
sitting
right
in
now
squalor
with
on
the
the other
idea that
side
he'll
of the
get
river.
more food later if he waits.
President Trump, your response,
So
30
important.
seconds, and then we'll move
It
on.
just shows that he has no
so I
understanding
think we
of
have good
immigration or the
intelligence.
laws. Catch and release is a disaster.
But evolution takes a long
A
time.
murderer would come in, a rapist would come in.
Arian, Among
a
Us?
very
You wanna
bad
play some
person
Among
would
Us?
come in.
Yeah,
We
I'll play
take
that as soon as I
their
die.
name. We have to release them
Because I'm
into
kind of getting
our
over
country,
this game right now.
and
So
then
the next
you
time
say
I
they
die,
come
I'll
back.
switch it up.
Less than 1% of the people come back. We have to send ICE out and Border Patrol out to find them. We would say, come back in 2 years, 3 years. We're going to give you a court case. You need Perry Mason. We're going to give you a court case. When you say they come back, they don't come back, Joe.
Yeah.
They never come back. Only the really I hate to say this,
Uh-oh.
but those with the lowest IQ,
Whoa.
they might come back.
Okay,
But
President
very,
Trump, let's
very
give
few.
Vice President Biden a chance to respond, and then we're going to move on to the
You
next
don't know
section.
the law, Joe.
Okay,
Vice
even
President
what
Biden,
that
your response.
Know the law, what he's telling you is simply not true.
Well, check it out.
when when Trump almost catches himself saying something bad and then goes on to say
So
it.
we don't have to worry about it
Let's
anymore.
move on to the
Wait,
next
I didn't catch the
section.
full context of that. It sounded bad based off of the way he reacted to what he was about to say
Let's
himself.
talk about our next section, which is race in America.
He was,
And I wanna
but wait,
talk
what,
about the way
when they say
black
come
and
back,
brown
what do they? What
Americans
was the context of
experience
that
race in this
conversation?
country.
I missed it.
Part of that experience is something called the talk. It happens regardless of class and income. Parents
Only
who feel
the
they have
lowest
no
IQ
choice
come back?
but to prepare their children for the chance that they could be targeted, including by the police, for no reason other than the color of their skin. Mr. Vice President, in the next 2 minutes, I want you to speak directly to these families. Do you understand why these parents fear for their children?
I do. I do. You know, my daughter is a social worker, and she's written a lot about this. She has her graduate degree from the University of Pennsylvania in social work. And you know, one of the reasons why I ended up working on the east side of Wilmington, Delaware, which is 90% African American, was to learn more about what was going on. What I never had to tell my daughter, if she's pulled over, make sure she puts, for a traffic stop, put both hands on top of the wheel and don't reach for the glove box because someone may shoot you. But a black parent, no matter how wealthy or how poor they are, has to teach their child when you're walking down the street, don't have a hoodie on when you go across the street. Making sure that you, in fact, if you get pulled over, yes, sir, no, sir, hands on top of the wheel, because you are, in fact, the victim, whether you're a person making child of a $300,000 a year person or someone who's on food stamps. The fact of the matter is, there is institutional racism in America. And we have always said, we've never lived up to it, that we hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women are created equal. Well, guess what? We have never, ever lived up to it, but we've always constantly been moving the needle further and further to inclusion, not exclusion. This is the first president to come along and says, that's the end of that. We're not going to do that anymore. We have to provide for economic opportunity.
Oh, wait, I have to
education,
beat this person
better
every
healthcare,
time?
better access
Holy cow,
to
you go back to the
schooling,
start
better
every
access
time?
to opportunity
This
to
game's
borrow
crazy.
money to start businesses.
That's
All the things
insane.
we
I
can
see. I
do,
thought you would
and
at
I laid out a
least,
clear
every
plan
boss you beat,
as
you
to
would at
how to
least
do
start
those
from
things,
there, or
just
not
to
have to
give
fight
people
them
a
again.
shot. It's about accumulating
This is
the ability
crazy.
to have wealth as well as it is
This game
to
is
be free from
no joke.
violence.
President Trump, same question to you, and let me remind you of the question. I would like you to speak directly to these families. Do you understand why these parents fear for their children?
Yes, I do. And again, he's been in government 47 years. He never did a thing except in 1994 when he did such harm to the black community. And they were called, and he called them super predators. And he said that. He said it, super predators. And they have never lived that down. 1994, your crime bill, the super predators. Nobody has done
Come on,
more for the
Haxwell.
black
Don't say that kind of
community
stuff.
than Donald Trump. And if you look,
How true is this
with the
statement? The push
exception
factors.
of Abraham Lincoln, possible exception, but the exception of Abraham Lincoln, nobody has done what I've done. Criminal justice reform, Obama and Joe didn't do
Slayer,
it.
what are you referring
I don't
to? Are you
even
saying
think they
that
tried, 'cause
the
they had
factors
no
that push
chance
people
of
to
doing
come
it.
to the United States
They
from
might have
Mexico
wanted to do it,
relate
but if
to
you had to see
like
the arms
economic
I had to
status?
twist to get that done, it was not a pretty picture, and everybody knows
That's
it,
definitely
including
true.
some very liberal people that cried
That's
in my
definitely true.
office. They cried in the Oval Office. 2 weeks later, they're out saying, gee, we have to defeat him. Criminal justice reform, prison reform, opportunity zones with Tim Scott, a great senator from South Carolina. He came in with this incredible idea for opportunity zones. It's one of the most successful programs. People don't talk about it. Tremendous investment is being made. Biggest beneficiary, the black and Hispanic communities, and then historically black colleges and universities. After 3 years of coming to the office, I love some of those guys. They were great. They came into the office and they said, I said, what are you doing? After 3 years, I said, why do you keep coming back? Because we have no funding. I said, you don't have to come back every year. We have to come back because President Obama would never give them long-term funding. And I did. 10-year, long-term funding, and I gave them more money.
Oh, I see what you're
than they
saying.
asked for, because
Yeah,
I
so
said, I think you
well,
need
the
more.
problem is that he's
And I said, the only bad part about
he's
this is
correlating.
I may never see you again,
He's
because
correlating.
I got
He's
very
saying the
friendly
people
with
that are
them, and they
coming
like me
back
and
to the
I like
United
them.
States,
But
right,
I
are
saved it
quote unquote
for
low IQ.
colleges and
The
universities.
question is
Okay,
like,
and we're gonna talk
is
about
there
both
any
of
data
your
to
records,
support
but your
that the
response to that,
IQ of
Vice
people
My
coming to the
response
United
that is,
States
I
typically is
never,
lower?
ever said
I don't.
what he
I haven't seen any
accused me
data
of
like
saying.
that.
The fact of the matter is, in
It would also
2000,
be like,
after the crime
you,
bill had
I think you
been
could say, yeah, maybe they have a
in
lower
the law for a
socioeconomic
while.
status,
This
like
is
they're
a
not
guy
making
who
as much
said,
money,
the
but to say
problem with
that
the
just
crime bill
because
is
they're not
enough
making
people in
that much
jail. There's
money,
not enough people in jail.
therefore
And
they
go
have
on my
low
website,
IQ.
get the quote, the
The
date when he
correlation
said it.
between
Not enough
income and
people. He
IQ
talked about marauding
is
gangs,
a
young
little bit of
gangs,
a
and the people
risky
who are going to
correlation. I don't
maraud our
know.
cities.
I mean,
This
I'm
is
sure
the
there's
guy
some
who in the Central
correlation
Park Five,
between
five
between
innocent
those
black
two
kids, He
things.
continued to push for making sure that they got the death
But it's
penalty.
not. It's
None of them
it's
were-
a very
none of
generalized
them
statement
were guilty
that
of what the
I would argue
crime-
might be a
of the
little
crimes
bit
they were
poor
suggesting.
wording. Yeah,
Look,
exactly.
and talk about
What's up,
and
Drew?
Granted, he did
How you doing, man?
let 20 people. He commuted 20 people sentences.
Pop up some Among
We
Us, I
commuted
guess,
over
at this
1,000
point.
people sentences. Over 1,000. The very law he's talking about is a law that, in fact, initiated by Barack Obama. And secondly, we're in a situation here where.
So the problem is when you start talking about
federal prison system was
IQ,
reduced by 38,000 people
it's a
under
little
our
bit problematic for a
administration.
variety of
And one of
reasons.
these things we should be doing, there
I mean,
should
there's
be
definitely
no
research on IQ that
minimum
shows that IQ is
mandatories
correlated with
in the
certain
law.
kinds of success.
That's why I'm offering
But I
$20
think
billion to states to change
it's oftentimes
their state
used.
laws to eliminate
IQ is
minimum
used as an
mandatories and
excuse
set
for
up
like
drug courts.
why
No one should
people
be
end up
going
in the
to jail
situations they
because
end up
they have a
in.
drug
Like,
problem.
oh, you must
They
just be
should
low
going to
IQ if you're
rehabilitation,
poor, or
not
you
to
must just
jail.
be,
We should fundamentally change
you know,
the
high
system, and
IQ
that's
if you're
what I'm gonna
wealthy. And
do.
it's like, of
Why
course, that's
didn't
not
you
true
do it
across
4
the
years
board, right?
ago?
Like, there are
Why
tons
didn't
of
you do
smart
that
people
4
that are
years
poor,
ago, even
and there are
less than
tons
that?
of
Why didn't you
stupid
do it?
people
Vice
that are
President,
rich.
You keep talking about all these things you're going
so-
to do, and you're going to do this, but you were there just a
To make
short
that
time
correlation,
ago, and
in
you
my
guys did
opinion, is a little bit
nothing.
of
We did.
You know,
a
Joe,
bad move.
I ran because of you. I ran because of Barack Obama.
And the other thing is,
If
you
did
know,
a
you don't
poor
want to
job,
say
if I thought you did a
it's
good
just
job,
it's
I
also a
would
little
have never run.
insensitive.
I would have never run. I ran because of you. I'm looking at you now. You're a politician. I ran because of you.
All right, Vice President Biden, your response to that, and then I do have some questions for both of you.
Well, I tell you what, I hope he does look at me, because what's happening here is, you know who I am, you know who he is, you know his character, you know my character, you know our reputations for honor and telling the truth. I am anxious to have this race. I am anxious to see this take place. The character of the country is on the ballot. Our character is on the ballot. Look at us closely.
Let me ask some follow-up.
me.
Please respond,
If
and then we're
this
going to have
stuff
follow-up.
is true
Excuse me.
about Russia,
Excuse me.
Ukraine, China,
Excuse
other
me.
countries, Iraq, if this
I don't
is
know why that
true,
cracks me up
then
when
he's a
Trump does
corrupt
that.
Politician.
All right.
So don't give me the stuff about how you're this innocent baby. Joe, they're calling you a corrupt politician.
Nobody-
Take
President
the
Trump, I
laptop
want to
from
stay
hell.
on the issue of race. We're
Take
talking about the issue.
laptop from hell.
President Trump, we're
Nobody-
talking about race right now, and I do want to stay on the issue of race.
Okay,
President
sure,
Trump, I
okay,
want to
Respond to that.
so
Because look,
Very
there
quick.
are 50
Slayer, you're not
former
wrong. He
national
was talking
television
about the
folks
education,
who said
yeah.
that what
But again,
he's
IQ
accusing
and
me of
education are
is a
not
Russian plan.
the same thing.
They have said that
So the
this
term,
is-
like, I
has
think,
all the
I guess the way I would put it
five
is
former heads of the
IQ
CIA,
is used
both
oftentimes
parties
as
say what
a,
he's saying is a bunch of garbage. Nobody believes it except his
How can I
and his
put this?
good
Like,
friend Rudy Giuliani.
You mean the laptop
it can be
is
used
now
by
another Russia,
certain
Russia,
kinds of
Russia
people
hoax?
as a way of dismissing or making like a moral statement about a group of people, saying they must have low IQ, meaning like they're not as good or not as deserving
We're going to continue
of
on the issue of race. Mr. President, you've
whatever, you know,
described the Black Lives Matter
where
movement
it
as a
makes more
symbol
sense
of
to think
hate.
about it in the
You've
context
shared
of
a
like,
video of a man chanting white power to millions of your supporters.
just because you're
You've
low
said that black
education,
professional
right,
athletes
doesn't mean you're low
exercising their
IQ.
First Amendment
Because
rights should be
education is about
fired. What do you say to Americans who
opportunity,
say
like
that kind
of
language from a
access.
president
But the
is
problem is when you
contributing
don't
to a
have
climate
access
of hate
to
and racial strife?
opportunity
The first time
of
I ever heard
education,
Black Lives
you might have
Matter,
you might have like
they were chanting,
you
"Pigs in
know
a blanket,"
a 200
talking
IQ,
about
but if
police.
you've never
Pigs,
if you're not able to
pigs,
utilize
talking
it,
about police.
right,
Pigs
that's
in a
the
blanket,
problem.
fry 'em,
So
like
yes, of course,
bacon.
people
I said,
from
"That's a horrible
these
thing," and they
countries
were
that are
marching down the
poor
street.
don't have the same
And
level
that
of
was my
access to
first
education.
glimpse
So yeah,
of
they
Black
might be
Lives Matter. I thought it was a
uneducated
terrible thing.
and poor.
As far
That doesn't
as,
necessarily mean they are
my
inherently like lower
relationships with
IQ or
all
inherently any
people,
worse
I
or
think
less
I have
deserving,
great
I guess is what I would
relationships with all
say.
people. I am
And I take
the
great
least
offense.
racist person in this room.
Well, what do you say to Americans?
See,
who are
this is what you
concerned
don't
by
see.
that
You
rhetoric?
don't know what my
I
IQ
mean, I
is.
don't know what to say. I got criminal justice reform done and prison reform.
I don't think
and
we have enough people
opportunity
to do a
zones. I
full
took care
game,
of
so I'll just
black
open it up.
Colleges and universities. I don't know what to say. They can say anything. I mean, they can say anything. It makes me sad because I am the least.
Yeah, Paul's
racist
right.
person. I
IQ
can't
sometimes
even see
uses
the
confirmation bias
audience
for
because
negative
it's so dark.
stereotypes. Yeah.
But I don't care who's in the audience.
It's like
I'm the
sometimes
least
it's like
racist
interesting.
person in this
Like
room.
Okay, Vice President Biden, let me
yeah,
ask you
IQ
very
is
quickly,
sometimes
and then I have a
used
follow-up question
as
for you.
a
Abraham Lincoln is one of
explanation
the most
for why a
racist
group
presidents we've had
is
in
not as
modern history.
deserving of something
He
else,
pours
right?
fuel on
I've heard it
every
used
single
with like
racist fire.
black community,
Every single
like
one.
oh why
Started
is
off his
why is
campaign coming down
crime
the escalator saying he's
higher
gonna
in the
get rid
black
of those
communities? Why is
Mexican rapists. He's
why
banned
is,
Muslims because they're
like,
Muslims. He has moved around
black communities tend to
made
be poorer
everything
or like,
worse across
and
the
it's
board.
oftentimes well they
He
just are
says
lower
so about the
IQ, right?
poor
If you look at
boys.
if you
Last
look at the
time we
data,
had
they're
him
lower
on stage, he
IQ,
said,
so
"I told him to
therefore
stand
you know
down
it's not
and
it's nothing
stand
wrong
ready."
with the
Come on.
inherent
This guy
system.
is a
It's just
dog
that they
whistle about big as a foghorn.
they're
President
just
Trump, I'm
not
gonna
as
give you
they're
10
not as
seconds
smart
to
as
respond,
everyone
and
else,
then I
right?
have a
It's
follow-up.
and so it's
You
just
made a
confirming
reference to
potentially what
Abraham
could be
Lincoln.
a
Where did that come
stereotype
in? I mean,
or
you
confirming
said
a
Abraham
pre-existing
Lincoln. Where did
notion of a
that-
group of people.
No.
So,
said
you know.
not since Abraham Lincoln has anybody done what I've done for the black community.
And I'm
I didn't say I'm Abraham Lincoln. I said not since Abraham Lincoln has anybody done what I've done for the black community. Now, you have done nothing other than the crime bill, which put
Oh God.
tens of thousands of black men, mostly in jail.
All right, let me-
And you know
let me
what?
a- let me
They
ask
remember
Vice
it
President
because if you
Biden
look
a
at what's
question.
happening with the voting right now,
Let me ask
they
Vice
remember
President
that
Biden
you treated them
about-
very, very badly.
Oh
Just
my
look at what's
God.
happening out there.
Vice President Biden, let me give you a chance to respond within this context. Crime bills that you supported in the 80s and 90s contributed to the incarceration of tens of thousands of young black men who had small amounts of drugs in their possession. They are sons, they are brothers, they're fathers, they're uncles, whose families are still to this day, some of them suffering the consequences. So speak to those families. Why should they vote for you?
One of the things is that in the 80s, we passed 100%, all 100 senators voted for it, a bill on drugs and how to deal with drugs. It was a mistake. I've been trying to change the since then, particularly the portion on cocaine. That's why I've been arguing that, in fact, we should not send anyone to jail for a pure drug offense. They should be going into treatment across the board. That's what we should be spending money on. That's why I
Oh, they
set up drug courts,
split
which
the
are never
vote.
funded by our Republican friends. They should not be going to jail for a drug or an alcohol problem. They should be going into
Could be
treatment.
Slayer. You're right. I didn't even think about
That's
that,
what
but
we've been
yeah,
trying
how
to
would
do. That's what I'm going to get done. Because
how
I
would
think
Red
the
know it was
American
black?
people have
Because
now
he got
seen
me
that,
pretty
in fact, it was a mistake to pass
pretty
those
out of sight
laws
of
related
everybody.
to
I think
drugs, but
he
they
must
were
have he
not
probably
in the crime
vented on
bill.
me here.
But why didn't he get it done? See, it's all talk, no action with these politicians. Why didn't he get it done? That's what I'm going to do when I become president. You were vice
up, Shreyas?
president along with Obama as your president, your leader, for 8 years. Why didn't you get it done? You had 8 years to get it done. Now you're saying you're going to get it done because you're all talk and no action, Jim.
We got a
Your
lot of it
response.
done. We released 38,000. We
anything
got
done.
38,000 prisoners left from the.
You got nothing done.
38,000 prisoners were released from federal prison. There were over 1,000 people who were given clemency. In fact, we're the ones that put in the legislation saying we could look at pattern and practice of police departments and what they were doing, how they were conducting themselves. I could go on, but we began the process. We lost an election. That's why I'm running to win back that election and change his terrible policy.
I
With
just
response,
asked,
and then we're
I
gonna
just
move
asked
on
one
to climate
question.
change.
Why didn't you do it in the 8 years, a short time ago? Why didn't you do it? You just said, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do this. You put tens of thousands of mostly black young men in prison. Now you're saying you're going to undo that. Why didn't you get it done? You had 8 years with Obama. You know why,
Because-
Joe? Because you're all talk and no action.
All right,
I
Vice
think we
President
do we
Biden,
do
then
we
we're
do
gonna
have
move on to the next
a
section.
We had a
a
Republican
Discord
Congress.
channel.
That's the answer.
The problem is we don't have enough people to have a full Discord channel for a full
Talk
game.
them into it.
We're going to move on to our next section.
Like I
which
did
is
with criminal
climate
justice
change.
reform. I had to
Okay.
talk Democrats into it.
So only like some people would be able to
We're running out of
communicate.
time, so we got to get on to climate change, please. You both have very different visions on climate change.
Also, I always worry that
President
I don't
Trump,
want
you
people
say
to
that
say stuff
environmental
'cause
regulations have
it's
hurt
tricky,
jobs
like,
in the energy sector.
when
Vice
I'm
President
trying to have a,
Biden,
like,
you
a
have
safe
said you see
for
addressing
work
climate
slash
change as an
safe
opportunity
for
to
school
create
stream,
new
and
jobs. For each
when
of you,
if I
how
open
would
up
you both
voice
combat
channels,
climate change and
I put
support
myself
job growth
in
at
big
the
risk
same
for
time? Starting with
some
you,
pretty
President
nasty
Trump, you have 2 minutes
things.
uninterrupted.
So it's always a little bit of a risk.
We have the Trillion Trees program. We have so many different programs.
Yeah, I could do a
love
scheduled
the
one.
environment,
I
but
was
what
considering
want is
doing
the
that one,
cleanest,
doing one of those in
crystal
the
clear water,
future.
the cleanest air.
I would have
We
to
have
be
the
very
best,
confident of the
lowest
people that are
number
in the
carbon
voice chat that they're going to be
emissions,
like
which is a big
reasonable.
standard that I notice Obama goes with all the time.
Because I know
Joe,
I know
haven't heard
that
Joe use the
there are
term
some
'cause
people
I'm
that
not
would
sure he
be.
knows what it
I'd have
represents
no
or
issue
means,
with
but I
saying
have heard
something
Obama use it, and we have
potentially,
the best carbon emission
not so good.
numbers that we've had in 35 years under this
Yeah, I don't know.
administration. We are working so well with
I don't know about
industry, but
Haxwell.
here's
That's
what we
risky.
can't do.
He's a.
Look at China. How
I'll tell you,
filthy
he
it
hasn't
is.
proven
Look
his
at Russia.
consistency
Look at India.
to me.
It's filthy. The air is filthy. The Paris Accord, I took us out because we were going to have to spend trillions of dollars, and we were treated very unfairly. When they put us in there, they did us a great disservice. They were going to take away our businesses. I will not sacrifice tens of millions of jobs, thousands and thousands of companies because of the Paris Accord. It was so unfair. China doesn't kick in until 2030. Russia goes back to a low standard, and we kicked in right away. It would have destroyed our businesses. So, you ready? We have done an incredible job environmentally. We have the cleanest air, the cleanest water, and the best carbon emission standards that we've seen in many, many years.
Vice President
And we
Biden.
haven't destroyed our industries.
Vice President Biden, 2 minutes to you, uninterrupted.
Climate change, climate warming, global warming is an existential threat to humanity. We have a moral obligation to deal with it. And we're told by all the leading scientists in the world we don't have much time. We're going to pass the point of no return within the next 8 to 10 years. 4 more years of this man eliminating all the regulations that were put in by us to clean up the climate, to limit the limit of emissions will put us in a position where we're going to be in real trouble. Here's where we have a great opportunity. I was able to get both all the environmental organizations as well as labor, the people worried about jobs, to support my climate plan. Because what it does, it will create millions of new good-paying jobs. We're going to invest in, for example, 50,000 charging stations on our highways so that we can own the electric car market of the future. In the meantime, China is doing that. We're going to be in a position where we're going to see to it that we're going to take 4 million existing buildings and 2 million existing homes and retrofit them so they don't leak as much energy, saving hundreds of millions of barrels of oil in the process and creating significant number of jobs. And by the way, the whole idea of what this is all going to do, it's going to create millions of jobs, and it's going to clean the environment. Our health and our jobs are at stake. That's what's happening. And what right now, by the way, Wall Street firms indicated that my plan will in fact create 18.6 million jobs, 7 million more than his. This is from Wall Street. And I'll create $1 trillion more in economic growth than his proposal does. Not on climate, just on
Axel,
the economy.
you seem to be a very big,
Came
like
out
guns
and said very
and
strongly,
gun regulation seems to be a very important
$6,500 will be taken away from families under his plan.
topic for
That
you.
His plan is an economic disaster. If you look at what he wants to do, you know,
Is there a reason for that?
If you look at
Just
his,
curious.
his
Nothing to do with
environmental
climate.
plan, you
I
know
don't
what
really
they
have a
want to do?
strong stance
AOC
on
plus
guns.
3.
I would say
They
I
know
would
nothing
argue that
about
they
the
should be
climate.
regulated a little bit
I mean,
more.
she got a
Like
good line of stuff,
I don't
but she
think
knows
people
nothing about the climate.
should be able to
And
get
they're
them
all
just
hopping through
so
hoops for
easy.
AOC
But I don't know
plus
enough.
3.
It's not something I know a lot about. So
Their real plan
I'll just be
costs
curious.
$100 trillion. If we had the best
What's up,
deal in
Manu?
the history of our country,
the code,
for 100
you'll see
years,
once the
we
game
would-
ends.
not even come close to a number like that. When he says buildings, they want to take
I look at
buildings down
cams?
because they want to make bigger windows.
Okay, so someone
into
tell me a little bit
smaller
about
windows.
how
As
do
far
I
as I'm
interpret
concerned, if you had
cams?
no
So
window,
it just
it'd
tells
be a
you
lovely
the
thing.
number of people in the
This is
different rooms,
craziest
right?
plan that anybody has ever seen, and this wasn't done by.
Can I get any more
smart
information
people.
other than
This
just
wasn't
where
done
people are at
by
certain times?
Anybody, frankly, I don't even know how it can be good
All right.
politically. They want to spend $100 trillion. That's their real number. He's trying to say it was 6. It's $100 trillion. They want to knock down buildings and build new buildings with little.
You're in
tiny,
Texas?
small
What are you doing
windows.
in Texas?
And many other things.
Okay.
And many other things.
Let me have the Vice President
It
respond,
is
and we're running out of
crazy.
time, and we have a lot
And
more
you'll
questions to
destroy
get
our
to.
country.
So let's hear from the Vice President. I have a number more
I
questions.
don't know where he comes from. I don't know where he comes up with these numbers.
Queens.
$100 trillion. Give me a break. This plan was.
Wow.
This is plan
Good game,
endorsed
Black.
by every major environmental.
Here's the
group
code.
and every labor group.
I'll make it private right
Labor,
now.
Because they know the future lies. The future lies.
BYLSLQ.
Breathe, and they know there are good jobs in getting us there. And by the way, the fastest growing industry in America.
I don't think
are-
any gun
is-
regulations would
is-
ever
is
ban
the
guns
electric-
entirely, right?
the,
I think you would
excuse
still
me,
be able to like use
solar
guns.
energy
I think you
and
should be able to
wind.
own
He
guns.
thinks
right?
wind causes cancer, windmills. It's the fastest growing jobs, and they pay good prevailing wages, $45, $50 an hour.
So,
we
I mean,
can grow and
I don't know.
we
I don't
can be
think-
cleaner if we go the route I'm proposing.
President Trump,
Excuse me.
please
We are
respond, and then I have some
We are
follow-ups.
energy independent for the first time.
Am I
We
an
don't
atheist,
need all of
Drew?
these countries that we had to fight war over 'cause we needed their
I guess you would
energy.
call me more of an
We're energy
agnostic.
independent. I know more about wind than you do.
Atheist is a
It's
strong
extremely
word because
expensive,
oftentimes when you call
kills
someone an
all the
atheist, you
birds.
assume that
It's
they
very
are like really
intermittent.
strongly
Got a lot of
adamant that there
problems, and
is
they happen to
no.
make the windmills in both Germany and China.
there
And the
is no
fumes coming
God.
up, if you're a believer in
I would say I'm like
emission, the
agnostic. Okay, I'm
fumes
pretty
coming
sure there's
up
not
to
one
make these
because there's not much
massive
evidence in my
windmills is
opinion.
more than
But
anything that we're talking
I think
about with
it's
natural
possible,
gas,
I
which is
guess,
very true. One
theoretically.
other thing.
Find
It
me
might be an
solar
unknowable
said-
thing.
I love solar, but
So I guess I would call
solar doesn't
myself
quite
like
have
a-
it yet. It's not powerful
an
yet
agnostic,
to-
a strong
to
agnostic.
Really run our big, beautiful factories that we need to compete with the world. So,
All right, remember, if
it's
you're
all
playing the
pipe
game
dream.
and you're
But
watch,
know
you
what
have to
we'll
not
do?
watch the
We're gonna have
stream
the
because
greatest
then you're
economy in the
cheating.
world. But
You're
if you wanna
stream
kill the
sniping.
economy, get rid of your oil industry. You want, and what about fracking?
All right,
Now-
let me
now we have to ask
let me
about
allow
fracking.
Vice President Biden to respond.
never said I oppose fracking.
You said it on tape.
I did show the tape. Put it on your website. I'll
put it on.
Put it on the website. The fact of the matter is,
put it
it's
on.
flat lying.
Would you
Flat-
rule out banning fracking?
I do rule out banning fracking because the answer we need other industries to transition to get to ultimately a complete zero emissions by 2025. What I will do with fracking over time is make sure that we can capture the emissions from the
Here we go.
fracking, capture the emissions from gas. We can do that, and we can do that by investing money and doing it. But
If
it's a
God doesn't
transition
exist, then why are there
to
different
that.
I
languages?
have one more question.
Checkmate,
in this part.
atheists.
Excuse me,
We have-
he was
Checkmate,
against
agnostics.
fracking. He said it. I will show that to you tomorrow. I am against
Oops,
fracking.
I thought I was a
Until we
ghost.
got the
Forgot. I was
nomination,
such a
went to
ghost for the entire
Pennsylvania,
round
then
that
he
I'm
said,
so used to
"But you know
flying
what,
over stuff."
Pennsylvania, he'll be against it very soon because his party is totally against it.
Fracking on federal land, I said no fracking
You said-
and or oil
you
on
didn't say
federal
Let
land.
me ask this
I
final
did.
question in this section, and then I want to move on to our final section. President Trump, people of color are much more likely to live near oil refineries and chemical plants. In Texas, there are families who
Electric.
worry the plants near them are making them sick. Your administration has rolled back regulations on these kinds of facilities. Why should these families give you another 4 years in office?
The families that we're talking about are employed heavily, and they're making a lot of money, more money than they've ever made. If you look at the kind of numbers that we produce for Hispanic, for Black, for Asian, it's 9 times greater, the percentage gain, than it was under, in 3 years, than it was under 8 years of the 2 of them, to put it nicely. 9 times more. Now, somebody lives.
Hi, Manu.
I have not
Did
heard
you get
the
in the
numbers
game?
or the statistics that you're
'Cause I
saying,
was,
but
I
they're
know you were
making
asking for
a
the code.
tremendous amount of money economically.
Okay, good.
We
Remember,
said
you
it,
can't watch
and
the
I said
stream,
it
though.
Again, a number of months ago, when oil was crashing because of
you're
the
gonna be,
pandemic, we saved it.
getting
We
some
got
inside
saved one of our
information.
Relationship. We got Saudi Arabia, Mexico, and Russia to cut back, way back. We saved our oil industry, and now it's very vibrant again.
All
And
right.
everybody has very inexpensive gasoline.
Vice
Remember that.
President Biden, your response response, and then we're going to have a final question for both of you.
My response is that those people live on what they call fence lines. He doesn't understand this. They live near chemical plants that, in fact, pollute, chemical plants and oil plants and refineries that pollute. I used to live near that when I was growing up in Claymont, Delaware. And more oil refineries in Marcus Hook and the Delaware River than there is any place, including in Houston at the time. When my mom get in the car and when there were first frost to drive me to school, turn in the windshield wiper, there'd be oil slick in the window. That's why so many people in my state were dying and getting cancer. The fact is, those frontline communities, it doesn't matter what you're paying them, it matters how you keep them safe. What do? And you impose restrictions on the pollutions the pollutants coming out of those fence line communities.
Okay, I have one final
Would he
question.
close down the oil industry?
It falls.
Would you close down the oil
By the way, I would transition from the oil industry, yes.
Oh,
I would
that's
transition.
a big statement.
It is a big statement.
That's a big
because
statement.
I would stop.
Why would you do that?
Because the oil industry pollutes significantly.
I see.
And here's the deal. But
That's
you
a
can't
big
do
statement.
that. Well, if you let me finish the statement, because it has to be replaced by renewable energy over time. And I'd stop giving to the oil industry, I'd stop giving them federal subsidies. He won't give federal subsidies to the gas, to solar and wind.
Yeah.
Why are we giving it to oil industry?
We actually do
All
give it
right.
to solar and wind.
We
And
have
that's
one
maybe the
final
biggest
question.
statement in terms of business. That's the biggest statement.
Okay.
Because
We have
basically
one
what he's
final
saying
question,
is he is
Mr.
going to
President.
destroy the oil industry. Will you remember that, Texas? Will you
Okay.
remember that, Pennsylvania, Oklahoma?
Vice
Wait,
President
can we
Biden, let me
skip
give
now?
you
Let me
10
see.
seconds to respond, and then
Ohio.
I have to get to the final question. Vice President Biden.
He takes everything out of context, but the point is, look, we have to move toward a net zero emissions. The first place to do that by the year 2035 is in energy production, by 2050 totally.
All right. One
Is he
final
gonna get
question
China
to both
to do
of you.
it?
No, we're finished with
Is
this.
he
We have
going to
to
get
move on
China
to
to
our
do it?
final question. We
No,
have to
I'm
move
going
on
to
to our final
rejoin Paris
question.
Accord and make China abide by what they agreed to.
All right,
That'll
this
cost you
is
$1
about
trillion.
leadership, gentlemen. And this first question does go to you, President Trump. Imagine this is your inauguration day. What will you say in your address to Americans who did not vote for you? You'll each have 1 minute, starting with you, Mr.
We have to make a country totally successful as it was prior to the plague coming in from China. Now we're rebuilding it,
Plague.
and we're doing record numbers, 11.4 million jobs in a short period of time, etc. But I will tell you, go
Trump
back.
does like to make sure everyone
Before
knows
the
that it
plague
came from
in,
China.
Just before, I was getting calls
It's
from
true.
people that were not normally people that were
Oh.
poor. They wanted to get together. We
Oh,
had
no.
the best black
Is this Orange again? This
unemployment
is the-
numbers
this
in the
is
history
this
of
the
our
same
country.
person who was
Hispanic, women, Asian, people
getting their
with
revenge on me
diplomas,
from
with no
yesterday?
diplomas, MIT graduates, #1 in the class. Everybody had the best numbers. And you know what? The other side wanted to get
Bexus?
together. They wanted to unify. Success is going to
Texas
bring
is
us
the
together.
Bexus?
We are on the road to success. But I'm cutting taxes, and he wants to raise everybody's taxes, and he wants to put new regulations on everything. He will kill it. If he gets in, you will have a depression, the likes of which you've never seen. Your 401ks will go to hell, and it'll be a very, very sad day for this country.
All right. Vice President Biden, same question to you. What will you say during your inaugural address to Americans who did not vote for you?
I will say, I'm an American president. I represent all of you, whether you voted for me or against me. And I'm going to make sure that you're represented. I'm going to give you hope. We're going to move. We're going to choose science over fiction. We're going to choose hope over fear. We're going to choose to move forward because we have enormous opportunities
See you, Paul.
to make things
Thanks for
better.
stopping in.
We can grow this economy. We can deal with the systemic racism. And at the same time, we can make sure that our economy is being run and moved and motivated by clean energy, creating millions of new jobs. And that's the fact. That's what we're going to do. And I'm going to say, as I said at the beginning, what is on the ballot here is the character of this country: decency, honor, respect, treating people with dignity, making sure that everyone has an even chance. And I'm going to make sure you get that. You haven't been getting it the last 4 years.
All right. I want to thank you both for a very robust, hour and a half, a fantastic debate. Really appreciate it. President Trump, former Vice President Joe Biden, thank you to Belmont University for hosting us tonight. And most importantly, thank you to those watching tonight. Election Day is November 3rd. Don't forget to vote.
November 3rd.
Thank you, everyone.
Don't forget to vote,
and
guys.
Have a great night.
I know none of you are
There you have it, second
able
and
to,
final
though.
debate of this 2020 election.
I'm saying don't forget to vote in a couple
their
years, like when you're ready,
70s,
when you're able to.
Two very different candidates.
Put it on
who
your
we heard
calendar,
tonight. Over the course
right?
of 90
In
minutes,
your
as we see
planner.
Melania
If you have a
Trump
planner,
come on the stage wearing
just
her
go ahead and
mask
like jot it
tonight.
down for
These two
whatever
very
2025 or
different visions of
whatever
how to
you.
handle the COVID crisis, how the COVID
Whenever you
crisis
turn 18.
was handled. For the
Actually,
first
it would be
40
20. It would be
minutes or so, it
2023,
seemed
right?
like a
2024.
relatively normal debate as the candidates laid out their positions on the COVID crisis. Got heated about 40 minutes in when Joe Biden unexpectedly went on offense over Donald Trump and his personal lawyer, Rudy Giuliani. President Trump responding with a series of unverified and misleading and false charges about Joe Biden and his business dealings and the business dealings of his son, and then some harsh clashes. We didn't have the kind of interruptions we saw in the first debate. The mute did appear to work at least for a time, but there were harsh clashes on health care, the minimum wage, children separated at the border under the Trump administration policy, and the big issue of character and race. Joe Biden memorably saying sarcastically, Abraham
up,
Lincoln
Yannicka?
talking about Donald Trump is one of the
You just
most
got here
racist
right as the debate
presidents
ended.
of modern times. The big question, John Carl, in the debate
I agree,
hall tonight
Mitchell.
for the president and
This
his
debate
team,
was
did they
much
do
more
enough to change the dynamic of
reasonable.
this race?
You know, it still wasn't a great
look,
debate
George,
in terms of
this
like
was
getting
a
to the
much
bottom of
better
anything
debate, and
important.
kudos
It was
to
still a lot
Kristen
of,
Welker
especially at the
in the
beginning, was a lot of sort of like
moderating
back
here.
and forth
And
character
certainly, the
assassination-y
Trump camp
kind of
Republicans generally,
attempts to
who I've heard
discredit
from
the
over
people.
course of the debate were relieved that Donald Trump
More about
was
personal
much more
character than
disciplined.
like policy.
He wasn't doing all the interruptions. He actually had a
But
theme at times. The
seemed more
theme
reasonable.
That Joe Biden is a politician. When Biden would come up with something, why didn't you do it when you were in power?
You can also tell that
47
Trump
years? Why
thought a
didn't you
little
do
bit.
it? So much more disciplined.
Trump
Donald
realized that
Trump.
his
George, your
his
question,
aggressive tactic
did it do
didn't
enough to
necessarily
change
pay
the
off for him
race?
in the first round.
I don't think so. And one factor here is that Joe Biden had, I believe, the best debate that he has had in 2020. Joe Biden went on the offense. Joe Biden had Donald Trump on the defensive repeatedly. Even when it got into Hunter Biden, Joe Biden turned it around and put Donald Trump on the defensive.
Go ahead and not listen to ABC's follow-up commentary. I always like, you know what I like to watch after a debate is I like to watch, and I don't know where to find this, but I like to watch there are these places that will do they'll do like Q&A with undecided voters. So they'll ask undecided voters what their opinion was on the debate. I don't ever know where to find that. I wonder if they stream that. Maybe on YouTube. Would it be on YouTube? Undecided voters react to debate. Live stream. Good game. Good game. I'm going to turn this on private just in case anyone who's now watching the stream wants to join in. There's 3 spots. This is the code there. BYLSLQ. SLQ. I've never played this on. I've never played the game on phone. You know, never was able to. Although I like on the computer. Not too bad. All right, looks like we are ready to go. I'll open it up just to get one more person in here. I guess we could start with 9. Oh, there we go. What is that? Adarsh, what up? Why did you think it was a great debate? What was your like great in what way? Like in comparison to previous one? I will say yes. In comparison to like an overall like I guess I gotta go to comparison to like what a debate could be. I felt not so good. Yeah, I mean the muting was good. Definitely not as contentious and argumentative as the first one. So yeah, I mean compared to the first one, I would 100%. Well, because they were muted. I believe they were muted during their time, weren't they? If I remember, like I don't think anyone. I didn't hear anyone get like cut off, like muted, like immediately. But I mean, they were muted so they couldn't talk while the other person was talking. You guys played bingo? How do you play bingo? What was on your bingo board? Like things that they said? Maybe I don't know enough about the way the muting was worked, but there was supposedly something about muting was going on in this debate. Black and lower engine. It's midnight. All right, Adarsh, take it easy. All right, I'm skipping. So orange has gotten voted on, okay. Oh, I'm dead. Dude, orange has been all over me today. Let me see. What did you say? What do I think about Biden's statement? Abraham Lincoln. Wait. He said this. Abraham Lincoln here is one of the most racist presidents we've had in modern history. Oh, so he was making that statement while pointing at Trump? Okay, I see what you're saying. So basically calling Trump Abraham Lincoln. Because Trump has been constantly saying he's been the best thing. He's been, how is he putting it? He's been the best thing for black people since Abraham Lincoln. That's his claim. is one of the most racist presidents we've had in modern history. You know, I would say it seems to me like it's a strong claim, but it's also, I don't know if I necessarily disagree with it. It's hard to know though, because like I don't know. I'm sure there were presidents in between him and Lincoln that were probably more like overtly racist because, you know, it was more acceptable in the past. But I will say that Trump has definitely said some things that are extremely insensitive. I mean, even in this debate, didn't he say something about like the people that keep coming back from Mexico are low IQ people? Like that seemed pretty rough. That seemed like a pretty rough statement. In modern history. Okay. I mean, I think, is it hyperbolic, like a little bit of hyperbole? Sure. But is it like outrageous statement? I actually don't think so. I mean, his stance on immigration, I can understand how people could interpret that as racist. His response, some of the things he said in the last debate about sort of the stand back and stand by, whatever he said about the Proud Boys, his general sort of dismissal of some of the things affecting like the Black Lives Matter movement. I mean, it's definitely like it's as hyperbolic as anything Trump would say, right? Like it's not like, so I don't really look at it as like a huge thing, and I can kind of understand. I could kind of understand where he would be coming from on it. Wow, that was a quick game. So I mean, yeah, I guess that's my take on it. You seem to think it was a bad move. You don't agree? But also, like, you know, you shouldn't probably call the person. When you and the other thing to consider is it's a debate, right? So the format there is sort of catering to a lot of hyperbole and slander and exaggeration and sort of bold claims, like, you know. So it's a strategy, right? These are all you have to take everything with a grain of salt. Ooh. I didn't see who was down here, though. I wasn't paying attention. He made a gaffe when he was talking about that time that Trump said he's done more for black people than anyone, even including Lincoln. And the interview responded, "Well, we are free, sir." Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we'll skip. Green. Ooh. Yeah, I agree with the whole the moderator was good. I agree with the moderator. And I wonder how much it was down to a couple things to consider, right? It's the second debate. So this time the moderator kind of going in knew what the first debate went like. So she could have been more ready to handle it. Second, I think Trump recognized that his aggressive tactic didn't really look too good for the first debate, so he could have scaled it down. And three, I think they did have some sort of a mute function that might have helped there. So yeah, I highly agree. She did do better, but I also think that the fact that it was the second debate and it was sort of like a lot of other factors played into it too. I didn't see anything. I did not see anything. I'm trying to find I want to watch some like undecided voters and like their opinion on it, but I can't find like a live stream or anything right now on it. What's up, Matt? Oh, how dare you. Whoa. They went quick. That was some real good gameplay on their part. I wasn't even wow. GG. G for that performance, I will say. Let's see. Undecided voters react to second debate. Second debate? Right? It's the second one, yeah. October 10th. No. What? No, that's not it. Oh, here we go. Ooh, I've got a... Jason did good last time. No, Mr. Clean. What I'm referring. They do these live. I've watched these live streams before where they live stream the reaction right after the debate. So they have like a panel of, let's say, like maybe 10 or so undecided voters, and then there's a person who's asking them questions about like what they thought of it, and it's live streamed. So I was hoping I could actually watch that, but I'm having a hard time finding a link. If anyone is able to find a link, let me know. Oh. I wonder how much I got busted here. Sometimes it's better to not say too much when you're the Why? Wait, Cyan is like standing up from here now? Wait, why would Sirius Snape say that? I was not with him the whole time. There we go. Yeah, whatever. We'll see. Just gonna skip. Dude, this is easy win here if we just get... Dude. Oh, no. Wait, I messed up there big time. I should have voted white. I wasn't paying attention. I didn't realize everyone was voting white. That makes it really hard for me to actually do this. Blue goes electrical. Later, Mr. Clean. I gotta find somebody here. Where is everybody? Holy cow. That was bad. That's true. I messed up last round by not voting. If I had voted last round, it could have been a little more legit. But I blew it last round by skipping instead of not voting for white. Well, what do I think? What do you think the biggest window Biden would allow a building to have is? What do you mean? What is that referring to? The biggest... Trump said Biden would make us have small windows in regards to what? Like, is this about climate change? Because like small windows would be, you know, better insulation or something like that. I mean, that seems pretty weird to me, huh? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if I can say anything about that. I'm trying to think, like, what would, so small windows, so because windows don't insulate as well, right? We have to use more energy to either heat or cool buildings. Yeah, I guess. But it's like, I don't think that just seemed like, you know, that's what Trump likes to do. He loves to take things to the literal or like extreme. I would say Biden probably wants them to be this big. Like just enough like peepholes. Like so every room has a peephole that you can look out. Right? Imagine that. Like from now on all buildings require every room to have like a peephole. Or yeah, like the castle slits. Where was I? What was that place in the map? I always forget the names of these places. Vote me if you want. I'm trying to think like, yeah, I mean, definitely it's okay. Sure. Windows do lose heat more, but you know, double pane windows are, you know, decent insulators. They're not as good as like the rest of the wall, but the key is not necessarily like the whole window thing. It's more about like, where's the energy coming from that we would use to heat or cool the place. It's not like, right. So like I mean, there's the approach could be more about like, yeah, we probably want to keep windows. Like we probably don't want to like get rid of windows. It seems pretty messed up. Maybe we can have windows, but just make sure the energy that we're going to require, that we're going to use to heat places comes from a place that's less impactful on the climate. So as a strategy, usually to sabotage, then kill, or kill, then sabotage. I always feel like kill, then sabotage is a good move. Dude, kill. Nice. Oh. How can I say this? I saw black. How do you join the same match as me? Just make sure to look at the code at the bottom. I don't know. I'm not participating in this game that much. I can't say anything at this point. had to do it, right? I have to, right? That's the only way. I gotta sacrifice. We need to stay together. So if you vote me, then he just needs 1 kill. Oh no, he needs 2 kills. So actually, it's probably not that, because he would just do. Because if I go, and if he was it, then he would still need 2 kills. Dude, black's coming hard for me. So how do I kill black? No, I gotta leave him alive. So who do I get? I gotta frame black. That's the only way here, huh? Gotta frame black. Oh, they were all together. Shoot, I messed up. It's over. It's over. All right, what time is it anyway? Yep. Okay. I think I'm gonna play maybe one more game. So if you want to join, I'll make it private, but down at the bottom here, you can use this code. I'll make it private for a second. I'm gonna grab something to drink and I'll be right back. I haven't had a win yet as an imposter, so I'm kind of disappointed in my own performance, I'll be honest. All right, here we go. Let's see if we can get a full match here. Let's do it. I will say though, with the whole window thing, if that was really true, it would be hilarious, because if you look around, like all the buildings that are going up around here in the Bay Area, like if you look at the new Apple Park, that thing is like entirely windows. Do you know how depressing it would be if you could, if you couldn't do window, if you had like no windows? Like, it looks bad. Have you seen art? Like, oh man, there's a type of architecture that is really cool. It's called like brutal architecture or something like that. Like, what is it? Brutalist architecture. So like, look at like, looks like we're skipping. Please change kill cooldown. What do you want kill cooldown to be? Skip. The code, you'll see it pop up in a second, or after the game. How you doing, Nathan? How's your night going? Let me look up some brutalist architecture. It's actually pretty cool looking, I'll be honest. Like, look at that. Look at that. It's cool looking, but I wouldn't want to live in a place that looks like this. It's way too, that's what I imagine, like with small windows. Sorry, I'm gonna cost our team the game here by just simply looking at architecture. Okay, so pink is there. Orange and pinks are there. Is that blue? Oh, I gotta go to admin. Oh, orange, right? It had to be orange. Saw them. I'm trying not to use him and him. But Oh, but they're dead. Did not do a good job of convincing there. Lost my chat. Sorry, I didn't see the chat. I had minimized my chat accidentally. How was the debate? It was definitely an improvement over the first one. I don't know. Were you here when we watched the first one? Because if you were, you would have seen the kind of disaster that the first one was. So how do I get myself off the hook here? Because now there's sus on me, even though I'm not. I feel like teal might be. Okay, so it's not teal because they could kill me right now. Why didn't teal report that? That's crazy. It wasn't orange? So who is it? Is it teal? I'm gonna go lime. I could be wrong though. He could have. So Cyan could have killed before that. Did I mess up? Did I blow it? Wow. Nathan, the code is BYLSLQ. What's up, Aryan? Do you see the code, Nathan? That was a good game. I lost my lost all my windows. I accidentally minimized everything. Hey, what y'all snap? Okay, sure. All right, let's do it. Let's do this. I'm not a fan of the asteroid one, I'll be honest. Ooh, I got a double shot right there. I'm 100% right now. Boom. My FPS skills. Ooh, that was quick, huh? Wonder who did this one. Yellow? Who reported? Wait, someone's selling yellow? You know what they should just make? You know what? NJ, you know, you're talking about like window sizes. If we really wanted to like put our energy efficiency, okay, we're going yellow. All right, where's yellow at? Bye, cool kid. If we really wanted to get efficient, you know what they should do? Just make all buildings out of this like Hydro Flask material. This stuff keeps stuff cold for a long time. Imagine that, like entire buildings built out of like Hydro Flask material. I have a question. If anyone in the chat knows the answer to this, is it? Do you get copyright infringement on YouTube if you're streaming, and then you are like you have a window where you're watching like another person's stream, like you're? Does that make sense? I don't know if that makes sense. Like, let's say I wanted to watch a Twitch stream while I'm streaming on YouTube. Is that like allowed? Like, I don't know what the rules are with this. Because I got a warning for watching an A&E video on stream, and I want to make sure I don't like get copyright strikes just accidentally. There's lime. Lime's doing tasks. And storage. Wait, what? Wait. Who's saying, wow, orange, red is calling orange out. Orange is calling red out. Red then orange. See ya, Diaz. Hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully we got this one right. Oh man, that was a quick game. Yikes. Oh, is it the LA Times that does this? This is what I want to watch. Oh, is this on YouTube? Open link in new tab.
I haven't heard it,
Here we go.
and I wanted something tonight, and I got nothing. I got a lot of platitudes. I got a lot of talking. And again, just on the fracking issue, since I'm in Western Pennsylvania, fracking is a big thing. And I mean, there's a lot of money involved in fracking. I have cheap gas bills because of fracking. And I remember what it used to be in the 70s and 80s when I was growing up. And $300-400 gas bills in a winter.
This
Now
is
I have a
what I wanna
$100
watch.
gas bill in a winter. I can't say. And he said, well, I'm not going to. Well, I heard. And I wrote that in a chat. I said, here we go. Someone write this down, because he said that. And if he gets elected, he's going to do something totally different and doesn't care about what he said. That's the thing about these.
So what this is, just to
Sewell,
give
I'm
some
gonna give you a
context,
chance to ask another question in a bit.
What you're
Mark
watching here
Fisher,
is
Washington Post.
undecided
What would you like to know from
voters
this group?
Great, thank you.
reacting to
very
the
much,
debate.
Frank, and really appreciate
shoot.
all of you.
Sorry, I haven't been-
spending this evening with us. Vice President Biden tonight, as he has in the past, talked about this election.
So this is the LA
as,
Times that
you know,
does this.
A test of character.
I found the
presenting
YouTube stream.
himself as a more
I can't vote because I wasn't paying attention.
character than the president. Does that issue matter to you? And did either of them say anything tonight?
Diaz, again?
To you about the soul of the country, which is something that Biden talks
See you,
about
Matt.
a lot, that the president maybe talked about last campaign, but not this time.
Who wants to answer that?
I'll answer.
No. Alec, go ahead.
No human being is perfect. None of us are perfect. It's a degree. I mean, you know, molesting children, as far as, you know, divorcing your wife or cheating on your wife. I don't know. Those are all moral judgments. I think the real character in
What?
someone holding office is what
Molesting
did they
children is a
do
moral
for the
judgment?
people
Excuse me, I think
that
everyone
they
agrees that that's not a good
represent.
thing to do. What?
So I want to ask you by show of hands, if you had to choose just on the issue of character, only on the issue of character, and you had to choose between Trump and Biden, who believes that Donald Trump has the better character? Raise your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4. Who believes Joe Biden has the better character? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Okay.
So we're missing.
I think that makes sense. I think most people
So
believe that
you guys
Biden's
choose
character
Joe
is a little
Biden for
stronger
better
than Trump.
character.
It
Let's
makes
get a
sense.
couple other responses to Mark's question. Was it
I
good
think
for
it's
Biden's race character?
I think he has character in the aspect.
The problem is
that
it's hard for me
he's
to play
never
the
been in a
game
hot seat as much as
and
Donald
stream
Trump has been.
and watch
He can
the
talk the talk.
live stream.
He can complain about COVID. He can point the fingers, but he's never been in that position where he has to make decisions. So yeah, it's when you're sitting on the sidelines or that armchair quarterback on Monday morning, the would you, coulda, shoulda. That's what I see Biden as, and he has that ability to say, "Well, you get me.
Who you
get a
voting?
better choice." I don't know. I just can't see that yet.
Tasha, Tasha, you're going next.
Joe Biden hasn't actually sold me on what I'm looking for. I don't have answers that I actually came here for.
Dark
on
green?
healthcare reform.
See,
I want to know about character. I want to know about character.
I just went with the
Morally,
mass. That was a bad
I
move on
can't
my
say
part.
that he is
Uninformed vote there.
What I
That's
thought
what you
he
shouldn't
would
be as an uninformed voter.
In what way?
I'm looking for it to be a solid character. I'm not saying that. It's questionable. He's wavering.
Holly? Was it appropriate for Joe Biden to draw a character comparison between himself and Donald Trump?
I mean, I definitely think it's fair for me.
Why didn't you do
Character has
that,
been
cool
one of
kid?
the biggest holdups, one of my biggest hesitations in casting a vote. I support a lot of Trump's policies. I agree with a lot of what he's done, but I just really struggle. I don't know how I could, in good conscience, vote for somebody who speaks the way he speaks and says the things he says. On the other hand, Joe Biden seems much more moral, and although that's a little bit questionable, but he seems much more moral and much more honest, but I don't necessarily agree with his policies. So it's a choice between character and policy.
Okay, Mark,
Interesting.
I wanna make
It's a
point
choice between
that
character
is
and
exactly
policy.
what I concluded before the debate started, and that this is what I see. I'm going to offer this as a conclusion, and then you're going to react and say whether I've got it or don't have it. That you look at Joe Biden as being a more decent person, but he's not coming clean on where he stands. You look at Donald Trump and you know where he stands, but you don't like the way he talks. You don't like the way he communicates. And that's your problem with Trump. So you've got doubts about Biden's policies. You've got doubts about Trump's behavior. Is that a fair conclusion for how you, and I'm looking at a lot of heads nodding.
Yikes. Big yikes. I knew it.
Yeah, 100%.
And invented.
I've
Classic.
cringed over the past
Into med bay.
3.5+ years over President Trump's tweets and how he has treated
I'm an expert swiper. Trust me.
and just not been
I got platinum cards all day, and I buy groceries. I'm a swiper.
And I feel like
I
that
see.
is
I come from a
on the
generation.
world stage. And so
Well,
that's super
most of my
disappointing.
life I had to
That's been
swipe
for
cards.
me
We didn't have this
the
sort of like
question of
insert
whether
your
I
chip
could
thing
vote
back
for
in the
him
day.
when I agree with many of the policies, and I'm just not sure where Joe Biden again stands on many of his policies. Are we
All right, I'm
going
dead,
to
so I'm gonna-
head towards socialism as a country? You know, for the people on the two coasts, you know, or New York and California, I should say, like maybe we see as people in more the Midwest or the South don't want socialism. We don't want socialism. And so if we're heading in that direction, especially with a Vice President Harris, I don't want to do that.
My card
I don't know
swiping
if I can
skills are
vote
off
for
the
President
charts.
Trump when he is such a nasty person sometimes.
Okay, Keith, you're going to get the last comment on this. And if, Danny, if you can get Francesca Chambers with McClatchy, if she's still there, let's bring her on. Keith, go ahead.
When it comes to character, I think it's a very important question because while President Trump is articulate, excuse me, I apologize. Joe Biden is articulate. He also flipped, like, he's been on both sides of every issue. He's for fracking, he's anti.
Oh, you're muted, dude.
He hasn't really varied too much in terms of where he stands. You know exactly what you're getting with Donald Trump. He's not going to say it the best way, but you, in terms of character, you know where one person stands. And for me, that character is a little bit more important.
Okay, Francesca Chambers, if you would unmute yourself, and we'd also like to see you. You're from McClatchy, and I want to give you a shot to ask our group a question.
I'll just unmute. Thanks, Frank. Appreciate it. You know, you guys have all talked about the emails tonight and Hunter Biden, the emails, and wanting to hear more about that. I'm just curious as to whether or not that's affecting your decision.
Yes.
If that's actually a deciding issue for you in this election at this point. Thanks.
Okay, let's do a show of hands. Hold on, we're going to do a show of hands first. Who says that it is the deciding issue for you? The deciding issue. One person. Who says John, is it a deciding issue for you? The deciding issue?
Yeah, I'd like to know. I mean, we talk about all these things about lying and cheating and stuff. Here's something that popped up. Is it truth or is it not truth? I want to know.
The fact that he doesn't want to answer it scares me, and that's why it's one of my biggest deciding issues. That and fracking. It's a simple question, and he's been avoiding it, and I don't know why. And now it's always been a different answer. Well, that doesn't exist. And then he mentioned his other son, and obviously he was in the last debate he was talking about obviously Hunter. Like the answer always changes. I want an answer on it, and also what scares me.
Big
is
old
that the
body
media
here.
refuses to talk
Big
about
old
it.
body.
You get shut down on Facebook and Twitter if you even see the link or something. That's scary to me, and I think it deserves an answer.
Yeah, and the bigger question is, why isn't the media doing this? We have 12 days to make a decision. And
Poor Yellow.
this is a
I like
very
Yellow.
important
Yellow was
topic,
with me the
and
whole time
nobody
that game,
seems interested.
and he was chill. He was a real cool kid.
If it were Trump, they
Sad to
would
see
be
him
all
go.
over it. The media would be all over this. That is what is concerning as well. And I would say the other thing that is concerning, even though this is not a big issue for me, is that for a man who's saying he wants to bring back the soul of America and is relying on his character for votes, this is something that would make the normal, reasonable person question character.
And we don't want to be drugged through 3.5 more years of the same stuff.
And this man is being accused of using his drug-addicted son to be a bagman with shady characters all over the world. I mean, you would think you'd want to address that.
I totally agree with Paulette. That is definitely a thing for me. Like, it's a yes or no, and to me, it could be pretty cut and dry. Because, you know, as a parent, I understand you can raise your children a certain way. That does not mean that they're going to carry themselves a certain way.
But you never stop caring about them. If you had that kind of money and connections, when you get them in the best rehab in the world,
definitely get them help or push them to reform.
Here's my friend, this shady character from, I don't know, Uzbekistan or something out in the middle of the desert, you know, with bags of money. I mean, my gosh, you know? Who put their kid in a situation like that?
Right.
The press needs to do its job.
Did she just say a shady character from
does the
Uzbekistan
emails matter
that she
to you?
mispronounced?
Well, it matters to a
Nice job,
small
guys.
extent in some way because the whole thing
The code
is
is
just so peculiar to me. Now, I
BYLSLQ.
heard a little bit indirectly that something was in the New York Post last week, maybe, or just a few days ago. I think the thing that was more alarming was this presentation tonight, and it was only carried, as I understand, by one of the cable channels. None of the others carried it. Maybe they'll pick up on it, but it sounds like a
Diaz, you don't know what
dichotomy,
POG
completely the
means?
reversal of Joe Biden's
Play of the
image that
game.
he's been cultivating is, you know, the person with greater morality than anybody. And like you say, it takes advantage of his son, who's had many issues too. That's sad to see. Really, it is sad to see.
It's funny, like
reduced
play
to
of the
this kind of
game.
level, but
Did that come
again,
from?
it's like
Did that come from
6-1
Overwatch? I feel like
the other, you have
Overwatch
someone
was
that's
the one that
taking
started that
potentially a
POG
bribe
thing.
from a foreign
Because
government.
Overwatch would always
But
show the
that
play of the
sounds like
game at the end of the
same thing that
match,
we heard about
and then
what
people
was in
started saying
Ukraine and with Donald
POG,
Trump,
and then
too.
it
I mean,
became
all of
POG
this
as like a way of like
yeah,
that was
it's just
awesome, kind of like
another
POG, that was
confusion,
legit.
confusing
And then
situation.
PogChamp. But what's PogChamp though? Doesn't PogChamp come from play of the game? And like poggers and like that whole meme? Hold on a second.
James and Kita.
What was the original POG? I thought it was
Kita,
play of the
tell me
game.
why it's not an issue.
Now, if you're talking to me,
Look, all politics.
well, no, if you're talking to me, so if you look at
I
like,
mean,
okay,
some
hold
of them
on,
are
let's get to the
very
bottom of
honest
this.
and truthful,
So
but
if you're talking to
most
me,
of the time
when I think
politicians
POG, I
lie.
think
It's those
POGs,
that
the
cover
original
the lies
POGs,
and
which
does
are
it well,
these
but
things, the milk
at the end
caps.
of the day, somebody will find out the truth. So I mean, in my stance, I mean.
So if you
it
look at
really
like
doesn't matter
POGs, the
because
original POGs
politicians are in it
was in
to
the
lie to
90s. There were these
American
like this
people
milk cap game where you would like
James, why don't you think it's
you
an
would
issue?
collect.
Well, you know, I feel like
You
I
would
was
play
going
somebody.
through
You would
what
play
everybody
somebody
here on the panel was going through.
for these little milk caps, and they were all like little memes, right? They'd have like little things, like there were sports ones, there were like cool ones that were like whatever.
Surrendered everything to vote
Rasta Pog, like this was all from like the 90s,
primarily
right?
My reason was, you know, Hillary and Obama wanted the Trans-Pacific, the TPP trade deal,
And you
that was
would
one of
play
my
these
major
matches with
concerns
people where you would use this, you'd use like a
And,
slammer,
along the way, I just sort
right?
of,
Which
like,
was like a big old like thick metal one that you would use and slam, and then like the pogs would go everywhere, and like it was like the ones that were face up, you got to keep, and the ones that were face down, they kept, and you would play these games. That's where the original POG that I know came from. But I thought POG was play of the game.
Joe was what his
What are you
thoughts
guys
were
saying?
on the TPP.
Okay, that's
Which
not
is now the USMCA. I know, but I mean, how I got here.
Spread.
was
It was because some streamer made that
answer the
face one
question. How
time.
can we be
No,
critical
but
of our
I
presidential
don't think so,
candidates
Alexi.
when we don't answer
I
questions?
think POG was originally play of the
I'm gonna
game.
go on. We've got
Let's
Kate
look it up.
Howling from, I hope I pronounced the name right, from Good Morning Britain.
You're talking about this guy?
It's an international group. The press
This POG guy?
is so interested that it's not just American
PogChamp. Well,
reporters. I don't know
PogChamp
if
came
she's
from
there.
POG though, which came from
Let's
play of the
pull back
game.
Mark Fisher and Kate.
All right, we got to do
There's
some
kids
research
right there.
here.
Let's pull back Mark Fisher and Francesca. so the
PogChamp.
screen
I
is
think
bigger.
PogChamp is different
And
than.
Kate, if you would unmute yourself,
So
I
if
would
you go
like
to
to
like
see you.
knowyourmeme.com,
Please ask your
oh, I have to whitelist them on my ad blocker. Pause on this site.
Kate, we can't hear you.
POG on this site.
Sorry, I'll unmute. You wanted me to ask a question, Frank?
All right, let me pause
What
this real
question
quick.
would you like to ask the group?
Let me mute that stream real quick. Okay, sorry. I just think this is an important research topic that we need to get to the bottom of right now, is this whole POG thing. Okay, PogChamp, also known as POG Champion, play of the game champ. Get out of here, ad. Oh, whatever. is one of the oldest emotes on Twitch. So, okay, there was an emote, a Twitch emote for sure. The emote was used as a way to express excitement. Right. Okay. PogChamp is spammed during a stream when something exciting happens, such as pulling off a clutch kill or play, but the emote can be used in a trolling fashion when there is no hype, like a streamer failing a challenge. Okay, so it can be used ironically. The origin was first seen on Cross Counter TV from 2010, which features an outtake of streamer and professional Street Fighter player Ryan Gutierrez, better known as Gutex, making an exaggerated face with his mouth and eyes wide open in surprise. Let's watch the video.
No, I was going to the cloud. No, we're good.
That was the original?
Oh, sorry. No, I was going to the cloud.
That was the original. What was the context?
He's Gutex.
Okay. Oh, sorry. No, I was going to the cloud.
Wait.
No, we're good.
So that's where the face came from?
Bitch slapped the tripod.
Okay. Though popularized on Twitch, the image is rumored to have originally served. Okay, so PogChamp. Okay. The emote is used on average over 500,000 times per day. Dude, imagine you making a face randomly and it becomes a 500,000 a day used emote. That's crazy. But see, I thought, so Poggers is a Twitch mode. Okay, so Poggers is basically where they took the PogChamp face and put it on Pepe the Frog. Right, okay, Pogu is a Franker face Z extension Twitch emote featuring the image of video. Okay. I see. I thought it came from play of the game. So I guess in the context of that, sure. Yeah, I guess it's play of the game, but it's like, who knows where play of the game came from, right? Because play of the game could be any game. So it might not have originated with Overwatch. Well, in fact, it couldn't have originated with Overwatch because Overwatch came out well after 2010, which where the PogChamp emote was. So my guess is probably play of the game is just play of the game is not like any sort of like that's a pretty standard thing to say about anything. Like it's like that's like I imagine like ESPN has like top plays of the game back from any sporting event. Oof. Where weapons? That was accurate. Who else was in Reactor? I did see Green. Who else was there? That's my biggest issue with this game is that I don't remember colors of like in a vicinity when I'm around an area. So clearly the reactor was a distraction, right? I don't know. This one's tricky. I'm gonna skip.
My choices were Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. It was absolutely horrible. And this time I was hoping that we might have some more interesting candidates. and it's really disappointing to me. There were a lot of interesting people that maybe I didn't always agree with their politics on the Democratic side, but people who had interesting ideas and fresh perspectives, and it's really disheartening that it's come down to Donald Trump and Joe Biden.
All right. Well, it doesn't matter if it comes down to
anyone
that's the. So she's talking about disheartening that it's come down to Donald Trump and Joe Biden. I think most people would agree that they don't like the candidates, right?
Matt, I'm going to you.
But at a certain point, like now, it is what it is. Like we have to make a decision
None
between
of
the
these
two.
candidates talk to my students and my students. And I think it's a necessity that these candidates need to start caring about the common everyday person. Everyone's talking about the everyone but the common everyday person on the street that has all the problems and all the negatives.
They got 3 tasks
no
in
one's,
electrical.
It's hard for me to talk about it in the classroom because I'm going like, they're asking for another candidate, and I'm saying we don't have one.
Wait, what kind of
George
teacher is
Washington
this?
said the downfall of our democracy will be when we have 2 political parties and no one else.
I do agree with you, John, that there's a
Yellow and blue are here. Black, yellow, blue. Black, yellow, blue.
Dude!
Are they gonna double kill?
Quite biased, and there's always
Oh,
this agenda,
those
and there's
sneaky
disconnect between media
guys.
and politicians and the average person in the United States.
So sneaky,
That's why I like
dude.
listening to local media than national media. At least I get it a little bit better.
Sneaky.
Frank, if I might interject really quickly, I just kind of feel like this entire process, we're forced to choose the lesser of 2 evils, and I like to, liken it to choosing the best seat in hell. Like, which seat you prefer to sit in hell? So, yeah.
Who wants the job? That's the issue. There's not many people that want the job.
And Matt, you're up. What question would you like to ask them?
First of all, thank you, Frank, for letting me ask a question. Thank you all for participating in this. It's super interesting, and I love all the voices and the perspectives. I want to ask if how COVID is playing into your decision in November, and also kind of separately to that, are you thinking about normalcy? Because we've seen, I don't think that it's biased to say that it's been a weird 4 years. And are you thinking about a return to anything? Are you comfortable with where we are? Do you think that the
So it was
idea that
yellow
things are
and
heightened is made up or fictionalized by us, perhaps?
I would say, like,
See, I already forgot the other color of the person. It was yellow and
virus
someone
ending
else.
up, the transmittability of the virus, I don't think that's fake. I do feel that fear has been flamed and sensationalized, and that's problematic to me. But I honestly don't see any end in sight unless there's a vaccine developed and made readily available to everybody. But I also know that people aren't going to take the vaccine. So any type of return to any sense of like normalcy.
Wait, why aren't people going to take the vaccine?
I don't know what America, let alone the world, looks like moving forward. Like the
Why
world
not?
that we once knew, I don't ever see that coming back.
America's never going to be American.
I'm curious. Anyone here not going to take the
Vaccine?
Sure, we're going to get to you. Who's not going to take the
Yeah,
vaccine?
I'm curious. Hold on.
Eric, you're not, and John, you're not.
3,
Tasha,
4,
you're not.
5.
James, you're not. James, why aren't you going to take it? And then Tasha can tell me also.
Sorry,
James,
guys,
why
I
don't
have
you
to
take
watch
it?
this. 5 people aren't going to take
I'm
the
a registered
vaccine.
pharmacist with the Nevada State Board of Pharmacy, and I've studied many years. And,
Well, I mean, when are they going to take it? That's the
I don't
question.
know. Our masks that we're making us wear, they're not even effective. I mean, it's
What are you
not an
talking
N95
about? Masks
certified
are
mask.
effective.
You could go to a 99-cent store and buy or put a handkerchief around you, and it's gonna protect you from these micron-sized particles. Give me a break. I mean, they taught me in pharmacy school that you quarantine the sick, not the healthy. I mean, everything seems backwards, and I'm like, I don't know what to say. I'm sorry. I'm not gonna take it.
So he's an anti-masker, right? Essentially.
When a pharmacist doesn't want to take it, you're actually
Yeah, how
scaring
about
the
that healthcare professional? I know, and
Well, okay, I guess I can understand that you wouldn't want to take it if it's in a trial form, like because you're not sure.
Perhaps a show of hands. Do people blame the current state of the country at the feet of Donald Trump, or do they think that this is a broader issue, systemically with our healthcare or whatever the system is?
It's a people issue.
Yeah.
I mean, we have to decide as a group of people if we're gonna mask or not mask, and if you're. And I don't
Arian,
think it's not the
are you
president's
red?
fault if someone doesn't wear a mask, that's a personal decision. If you think it's gonna work or you don't, I mean, that's a personal decision. And I don't think telling someone to do something is always going to be the best idea as well. You got to make that personal choice. And I don't know. That's the biggest thing I can see. It's not the president's fault.
Tasha, why aren't you going to take it? And then I'll go to Stephen.
I actually agree with James.
Yikes.
My reasoning for not taking it is because I feel like our sense of normalcy is gone.
Wow.
Yes. But I feel like out of fear, I should not be forced to get a vaccine that
That was
I don't
pretty
need.
solid. That double kill,
I
though,
don't
huh?
feel like all the vaccines that are given to my children are needed. I'm the mother of 4 boys, 2 of which are autistic. And I've done my own studies. We won't speak on that. But I don't really feel like the first vaccine that comes out necessarily is going to be a quick fix. Can we take some time? Can we figure this out? Because it's going to take more than a couple ideas. You know, this didn't just happen overnight. It will not be cured overnight. And everyone rushing into this thing that we call a vaccine, how do we know it is working or it is not working?
And Stephen.
Yeah, so I think also another problem is unfortunately one the president has brought upon himself, his tendency towards conspiracy theories, and then suggesting medications. Now, my late dad worked in public health for 52 years, a doctor, worked in public medicine for 52 years. And again, a vaccine just to have an Operation Warp Speed, it sounds very like they're skipping some tests. And I think I would take the vaccine, but do I want to be the first one? Do I want to be the guinea pig? Now, we know people are getting it right now. Here in Kalamazoo, Michigan, Pfizer is manufacturing the vaccine. We're on our stage 3 trials with this. So far, it appears good, but that doesn't mean it's going to be good for everybody, because we're seeing other companies that are having people. Someone just died a few days ago from one of the other experimental ones. They're still evaluating. I think the problem is there's this sort of anti-science perception that's happening. What about the CDC? What happened to the meetings at the White House? My gosh, it's like all of a sudden Dr. Fauci is the enemy. I mean, it's like that kind of distracting and tragic nonsense. These people are dedicated professionals who've spent their entire lives working on research, and Dr. Fauci in particular. So yeah, that's my. I'm sorry, I'm going on too long, Frank. I apologize.
Do you blame Trump for that?
I think he's fishing for ideas. I think he doesn't know. He wants people that perhaps identify with his view of what should be. Like we have this thing with hydroxychloroquine. Is it any good?
Trump? I'm asking you a question. Do you blame Trump for this?
I blame I would say you'd have to, in a way, because he started a process, but then his own process, he kind of like derailed it. I mean, it turns into a chaotic situation where nobody knows what's the truth. Is the science right or isn't it right? Is our master expert who's been with us for 30 years right or isn't he right? So that comes down to the psychology of the leadership, unfortunately, in my opinion.
Matt, thank you very much. I got a couple more people I got to go to. Sue, just give me one more shot because I got to bring 2 more people in. If Byron York is there, Byron, we're going to try to pull you in if you're still there from the Washington Examiner. And as he comes in, I'm going to ask you, who do you believe, and we can do a show of hands here, who do you believe will do a better job with the economy? After tonight's debate.
Hey, Frank, can you hear me? It's Byron now.
Yes, I can, but you got to hold on 1 second.
Okay.
Guys, who do you believe would do a better job with the economy after listening to the debate tonight? Joe Biden or Donald Trump? By show of hands, who would say Joe Biden? Who would say Donald Trump? Okay, clearly Trump is the clearly by that, Trump is the preferred candidate. Jennifer, why do you Trump? Oh, God damn it. You're going to have to end this.
All right. Sorry about that. Just wanted to make. I need to eat some food.
And I'm not even playing that person well. I'm not even. It's been a long day. Let me restart this because I'm actually going to use this segment on CNBC tomorrow.
All right, ready?
Almost all of you think Donald Trump is preferable on the economy after watching the debate tonight. Jennifer, why do you choose Trump over Biden?
I would choose Trump over Biden on the economy issue, just because of the fact that I believe that he has skills and has the knowledge and skill set to actually bring us ahead. I think that prior to COVID, the first 3 years of his presidency, he was doing great. And then COVID happened, and our economy has obviously gone into the tanker. And if there's somebody who's going to be able to get us out, I believe it's going to be him.
Elizabeth, I'm curious because there's stuff about Trump you don't like, and yet on the economy, you clearly believe he's preferable. Tell me why.
Later, Nyanika.
Well, I mean, it's the last 3.5 years, the economy was great prior to COVID, better than it ever was before. Our 401ks have grown like crazy. And even in this pandemic, look at the stock market. It's crazy.
Yeah, okay. You can't use the stock market as a judge for the economy.
You know what? Here in Georgia, everybody can still have a job. Everywhere I go, there's unwanted signs everywhere.
Dark green.
Tasha, why do you think, and you have some very specific issues about Trump, but why do you think he's better on the economy?
Because like Jennifer said, it will take a special skill set. And just being a businessman,
Later, Matt.
he has showed us that he can recover in many different areas.
Jill?
I am also concerned about Joe Biden's tax plan. So we know that Trump has shown us that we can have a good economy under him. And then Biden's tax plan, I mean, if 50 Cent is worried about it, I'm worried about it too. So, and I don't have the money that 50 Cent has, but I'm
Bumper sticker.
Okay, Holly, who's going to be better on the economy?
I think Trump is better on the economy. Its job growth has been strong throughout his 3.5 years up until the pandemic hit. Stock market has been up. He's created a lot of new jobs. He has brought manufacturing back to America, and like others have touched on, I just really think that he has a much stronger skill set and a much stronger background to lead us through this challenging economic time rather than Joe Biden.
I'm done.
All it needs is a majority to vote them off. It doesn't even need a majority of the votes. It doesn't need.
And yet you're very supportive of how he handles the economy.
So Frank, I'm not an economist by any means or stretch of the imagination, but one of the things that I remember from my econ class at UCLA was that raising the minimum wage has unintended consequences, and low-skilled workers that raising the minimum wage is intended to help. They often get pushed out of jobs that they aren't necessarily. They'll get pushed out of jobs that would pay them that higher wage. So yeah, Joe Biden lost me when he said that on economics.
Lost you in economics. That's a pretty big deal. Keith?
I was say I'm very much in favor of raising the minimum wage, but
that's
not
true.
For nothing, but for the first time in
The minimum wage is an interesting debate,
at
Alexi.
least in the first 3.5 years of the Trump presidency, if I lost my job, if I needed a job, I knew I was more than confident that I could go out in the world and get a job. That wasn't the case during Obama's presidency, and I'm going to correlate the Biden, vice presidency under that administration as well. So I don't want to return to that economy. Whether that's fair or not, I don't know.
Will anyone speak up for Joe Biden and his handling of the economy, based on what you heard? Anybody? Okay then. Byron York, you get your question now.
Thanks very much for having me here. I was very struck by the difference when Frank asked you to give one word to describe Biden and Trump's performance. Biden, some of you said vague, very vague, non-specific, cognitively impaired, old, uncomfortable, drunk, elusive, grandfatherly, and defensive. With Trump, it was controlled, composed, constrained, reserved, poised, con artist, presidential, controlled, calmer, restrained. Is that big difference from the last time, and could it make a difference in how you ultimately decide to vote?
Byron, you forgot petulant.
I should have gotten petulant in there. Sorry.
Okay, guys, answer.
Yes, we've been wanting to see this man act presidential for 3 years, and he hasn't. And I mean, we get a glimpse of it, and it gives us hope, right? We went in, I think.
What? Emergency meeting
you know,
already?
we haven't had that
Excuse
hope
me?
really since the elections of Barack Obama. As Jennifer spoke earlier, the past couple of elections have not been exciting, and we want someone to bring us something. And we know that trust Trump on the economy, but we don't trust what he's going to say. Tonight, he gave us a little bit of hope that he could be presidential. The past 2 debates, not at all.
Yeah, the first debate was a complete crap show. You know, everyone was talking over everyone. Chris Wallace couldn't moderate. I honestly felt that in this debate, Donald Trump did seem far much more presidential. I've been saying that his TV show, The Apprentice, the character and poise that he displayed on that
He didn't go to
show
download before
was far
uploading?
much more than what we've been getting. So I feel like the American people have been cheated. But tonight he showed restraint in comparison to the first debate. And Joe Biden, again, he
White
can't
playing
give
with
a
one
straight
arm.
answer. Like, he's going to be so elusive. And so I kind of feel like that dichotomy that, you know, it was so stark that I noticed.
Jennifer.
What was the question? I'm sorry.
That there was a difference.
Do we believe
Everyone's just
black here?
talking about that this was a different Donald Trump tonight than in the previous debates and his previous communication.
That meant something to me. I was looking, that is one of the reasons why I have such reservations about pulling the lever for Donald Trump. He has shown me that he's been embarrassing. When I say Donald Trump is my president, I'm embarrassed. I'm not embarrassed by his policies necessarily. I'm embarrassed by what comes out of his mouth. That he has been so abrasive and mean to people. But
That's true.
The only person I really heard tonight call somebody a name was Joe Biden, and he didn't really do a very good job of doing it. And
Didn't do a good job. Imagine.
for me, it meant more.
Imagine like trying to insult someone and not doing a good job, and that costing you your presidential candidacy.
Yeah, I just think that, much like Jennifer, character has really been the biggest thing that's been holding me back
Dude,
from voting
Diaz,
for Donald Trump.
you're sussing on me right
and
now.
Tonight, he showed that he can behave in a way that is presidential, that is more civil, and I think that will definitely affect my decision going forward.
So tonight was a big deal for you.
Yes, it was.
No one.
Okay.
Wait, well,
Byron, thank you very much. Sewell, I promised you one more question. After all, this is live streaming on the LA Times. What would you like to know?
Is your life better off now than it was 4 years ago? Who says better? And who says not better? Then I would ask, do you feel the country is better off now than it was 4 years ago? Who says better?
3 people.
Who says not better?
4. Most people say not better.
Thanks.
Okay, and I'm going to give you, so I'm going to give you something because I want you to do a follow-up, which is those who say that we're not better off. Please tell us why. Other than the obvious, other than COVID, why are we not better off now than we were 4 years ago as a country? 3 of you, please volunteer.
As a country,
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Ladies first.
Tasha first.
as a country, I have seen many ups and downs, and we have always come back together. That was never a doubt in my mind. Having a marriage and having a home, it was founded on these values. So when I teach my children, I teach them these things, but my children can't see this. I can't see this in our country. How can we expect our next generation to go forward and instill the same values and create the same greatness that my parents and my parents' parents brought me into.
Jennifer.
I have
Dude, Diaz on my tail all day today.
have a real conversation with people these days. You cannot have a conversation and talk
Why?
about
You're
issues
just sussing
without
on me.
being judged or called a name. Or said somebody says that you're this person or you're that person, and I hate the polarization. I hate that we can't have a conversation about race and without somebody pointing a finger or and listening to each other and having respect that we all come from different walks of life and listen to each other.
All right, I'm done with
That's
my
the
tasks.
only way
Come
that
on
we are
now.
going to grow, and I feel like we are way worse in that department.
Dude, everyone's
And
here
I
right
want
now.
us to come together. So in that topic of just us having conversation, having respect, listening, communicating with each other, we are way worse off. And unless we get our act together, we're going to get even further apart. And I don't want to see what 4 years from now's election is going to look like if the last two have been terrible.
But Jennifer, is that in the executive branch or the legislative branch of our government?
What did you say? I'm sorry.
Two people said
Is that
pink
in the
vented.
executive branch or the legislative branch of our government? It looks
I
like all the discord is more in the, in Congress.
I think it's in the media.
All right, we'll vote pink then.
Absolutely. Media,
But
yes.
who said pink vented? It was
I gotta say this. I have to say
pink vented, pink
I'm a
vented,
black man in America.
orange.
This is the America that I
Ah,
inherited.
it seems like
This is the
everyone's saying
America
pink.
that I always knew. So, I mean, I want to be sensitive and say, for you all, it may, be something new, but this has been my experience, and I'm a 38-year-old man. This is nothing new to me, and that's why I said, my disposition, my position in America, it hasn't changed anything. I feel like if anything, it's forced people
Easy
to
win.
talk about issues of race, and these are literally things.
What's up, Dylan? It's going all right. I have not had a win yet as an imposter
We've been
tonight.
coming to our fellow countrymen, just asking for equal, seat at the table. And now it's like all of a sudden people are willing to listen. It's like, the country is in such disarray, but you all have had a glimpse of what it is to be black in America for the past, 6-7 months? Like, this is generational.
But you went to UCLA.
Yes, ma'am.
Well,
And I'm a United States Army veteran.
This is getting confrontational.
Thank you for your service, and you deserve to go to UCLA. But that's far better college than I had. So, who's privileged? I mean, you worked. My husband's a veteran.
Interesting. What's the
But he never
response?
went to UCLA.
Okay. We're gonna ask-
No response to that.
Different.
Interesting.
I don't think my life has been anything of one of privilege. If anything, I kind of feel like my life it has typified pulling yourself up by your bootstraps.
Well, I think everybody
Pulling yourself up
does.
by your
And
bootstraps.
wish
I hate
you
that.
well. You're the kind of person I think things are going to turn around for you, and you're going to do very well for yourself.
So, you will-
Nathan, I'm
I'm
eating
gonna ask the final question,
some
and
stir
the
fry.
most
I made
reporters
stir.
aren't
I make
even on.
I usually make a bunch of food
Because I'm now gonna ask
on
you
like
to
the
vote
weekend, and I have meals for the
So,
week.
Anything else you want to ask?
So I've got stir fry, a little bit of tofu, and
Okay,
some rice.
Actually, is George Condon still on? If he is, bring him into the group. If not, our final
Wait, what are people saying?
question, and I'm going to go through every one of you. The election we're held today.
This is practice for my tourney on
still on.
Saturday.
So George,
What? There's Among
yourself,
Us tournaments?
and we'd like to see you, and you got one crack at a question for our group.
Yeah, Dylan, I
Okay,
did
great,
say
I
that.
appreciate it. I should let you know that
I'm
I've been
I'm kind of
doing
like a
this
pretty
talking to
like
voters
anti.
after debates for the last 12
I'm kind of anti
election
free will
cycles,
a little bit, like
going back to
philosophically. So
1980, and the one constant in all of them is that voters every single time complain that they didn't get more specifics in 2-minute answers. So you're in very good historic company there. But my
who are people
question
voting?
was one thing that
I
came
just
up
finished fixing
today
lights, dark green.
in the debate that you didn't.
I don't think
mention.
it's yellow. I can vouch
Any
for yellow,
reaction
actually.
To the discussion about the president defending the separation of the children at the border and the fact that we can't find the parents, 500 of them.
I'm surprised none of you mentioned it. James, did you have a reaction to that?
Yeah, I think I came in late onto that, so I didn't really get to hear that part of the discussion.
Who are people voting for? I don't know who people are voting for.
The president did discuss human trafficking because this is a very, very big issue to me. I am an international human rights lawyer, and he did talk about how many kids are brought in through trafficking. Now, do we know? I feel like as the average person in America, I don't know if those children, many of them were brought in from human trafficking, or whether they truly were separated. Joe Biden said that they were separated from their parents. I would like a clear answer on that. That is something that is very important to me, and I don't think it's right. It's very wrong. So, I feel like we don't have a real clear answer on that. But I also thought that Trump did seem strong somewhat in his answer, in that he said that
this is the Los Angeles Times does this sort of undecided voter panel on Zoom call after the debate and asks questions of people who are quote unquote undecided voters what they thought of the debate. And so we're just watching that. It's a stream, YouTube stream.
I knew he was talking about the kids being separated. Obviously, it's a horrible situation, but honestly, I don't think either candidate kind of came out ahead or behind. Obviously, it's a horrific thing to happen, to separate children from their parents. But again, I thought it was really weird that Joe Biden just refused to answer yet another question, especially when he said, "Well, who built the cage?" And I think the reporter even offered 10 seconds, and Biden said no. So I thought that was
the
last time you heard a candidate say no, he doesn't want more time.
Yeah, I thought it was strange that we didn't also mention that there were tens of thousands of people coming to our border at that moment in time.
I don't know where they're from. That's a good question, Dylan. I'm not sure where they're from. Let me see.
We had to react in some way. Maybe all the decisions weren't perfect, but we had to do something.
This is the stream.
I'm surprised there weren't more than 500.
That's the stream, but I don't know where they're from. Like, I would imagine they're all from California, because it's the LA Times. So I imagine they care about people from LA area / California.
Okay, we're now to the final question.
Final question.
And George, thank you, and people here would not know. George and I have known each other for almost 30 years now. Not since the beginning of when he was reporting, but very early in his career. Here we go, guys. If the election were held today, I'm going to ask each one of you. If the election were held today, for whom would you vote? Eric, I'm going to start with you.
I feel like it's lime. I mean, here's the one thing. Yellow could be playing me this entire time, because they've been hanging around me, and they could be using me as an alibi, and I vouch for them.
From a European country was complaining that you guys weren't undecided enough, and you're still undecided after 2 presidential debates and a vice presidential debate and billions on advertising, and you still haven't come up with a point of view.
I can't vote. Steven, I just don't know enough info.
Today, who would you vote for and why?
Well, despite my reluctance on some of the medical issues that we've been dealing with COVID, it would still be President Trump, because of the vagueness that we've discussed this evening about the Biden plan, and maybe
I knew
it's
it.
Online. But
Yellow played me hard.
It's really a difficult choice this time, because we know of the shortcomings and his appearance tonight. Even though it appeared presidential, I'm going to wait till tomorrow morning and see what kind of tweets we're going to see. Are we going? What is the tweet output going to be in the morning? Is it going to go back to this, or can he sustain the image that he has? And that, to me, was more appealing. And he's certainly tough. He's doing something in Mexico to help prevent the working with the governments down there to try to stop the caravans and do some stuff. But
yeah, it's true.
Again, it's a very complicated issue, and I think our expectations for all of these people might be just simply too high. It's a long-term thing that has to be worked on. But right now, I'd go with Trump, because the other candidate, he's been there for a long time and he has a lot of knowledge. But is that going to do it? You still need this sort of maverick.
Jim, I mean, it's not Jim, Jill, I would have thought that by this point it's so late that Stephen would have actually given an answer in the amount of time that I could actually use it. but it seems like
Do I think Among Us would be easier or more
going
difficult
on, and if I call on him again,
for crewmates if there was a
few of
voice
us may
chat?
expire by the time he's done telling us something very simple.
That's an interesting question.
If the election were held today, for who would you vote and why?
I think it's more fun if you can use a voice chat
And I know that when you get into
because it adds in
when you're that
a different level of communication because you can hear like intonation of voice.
And so I say that
It's much easier to tell if someone's lying
just vote Trump, except for my conscience
through their
in a
voice.
lot of ways.
Oh wow, I got murdered right off the
Really
bat.
keeps me from wanting to do that.
And the guy vented. Like I've played Among Us on Zoom calls with some
Go
friends.
back and forth every day, and I hear from my wife, and my wife is a Biden supporter, and my neighbors are all Trump supporters. And again, if I had to make a decision based on this debate and this debate only,
it's funny because when I first started playing Among Us with this group of friends I have on Zoom calls where you can see each other. Not only is it verbal like audio, but it's also
Biden,
visual.
like we said before, doesn't have the answers. He talks in platitudes. He walks around.
It's funny to watch. We've gotten better at lying to each other. It's like I don't even know if this game is like healthy to play with friends because you get better at lying to each other. And part of me is like, I don't know if that's a good thing.
Who's going to be president, him or Kamala?
What's up, Onslaught?
Me?
Yep.
I don't know. It's like picking the lesser of two evils.
Of course, it's picking the lesser of two evils. Every election is picking the lesser of
If
two
I
evils.
had to go with one person, I would say probably Trump because I mean, at least he has proven something in his 4 years that he has, kind of turned around the economy, provided jobs for people, and I mean, I honestly think that he has a personality problem, to be honest. But I mean, he has shown what he can do. And I mean, we all have our flaws and stuff like that. I mean, nobody is perfect. I mean, this election, in itself is not perfect. But I mean, if those were the only two of the local evils, then I would just choose him.
Jennifer.
I really, really wanted to vote for Joe Biden. I really, really do. But I just, based on tonight's performance, Donald Trump, I guess, if I had to make a decision.
What was it about tonight's performance?
I saw a lot of just lack of confidence. I saw him showing a little bit of his age. That worries me to my core. When we were trying to vote for Biden 15 years ago, 12 years ago, it was a no-brainer. It was like, yeah, Obama, Biden. But this time around, I feel like he's not going to be the president, and I'm not really going to be voting for him. I'll be voting for something else or an idea. And so based on just based on what I've seen so far from Donald Trump, I guess I'll have to go with Donald Trump.
Tasha, what's your response?
My response, according to tonight, I would be voting for Donald Trump based on the information that he was able to answer, whereas Joe Biden was very elusive. He seemed like he may not have been as quick on the draw, and I can't fully give myself to someone that I need to lead us as a nation. I can't think that he would be the man for the job, whereas Donald Trump has turned around and he has showed us over the last 3.5 years that the economy can be strong. We just got to work on other parts. So Trump, for me, is the lesser of the two evils.
And Holly, I'm not going to go through everyone. So Holly, how do you answer this question?
Very begrudgingly, Trump.
Wow, a lot of people are going Trump here.
Begrudgingly, what was
kind of surprising.
Tonight, what did it teach you or tell you?
I think tonight just proved that Donald Trump can be presidential and can control himself and be restrained.
Dude, man, I don't know. Like a lot of these undecided voters are basically comparing. I'm wondering if this is an interesting. I wonder if this is a tactic that Trump and his campaign people came up with. They're like, Why don't we do this?
Okay,
What if we,
so
the first
I wanna
election,
thank you
the
for
first
joining
debate
us.
we do like a
And
crazy, we'll be like
wanna
very
make a
aggressive
comment to you
and
all
like quote unquote like
that this is what
unpresidential.
we've been saying.
And the
The
second one,
undecideds are not undecided because
we'll
they're
reel it
choosing
in a
two
little
different
bit.
policies. They are
So
judging
that in
Trump's
comparison,
character,
people are like, oh wow,
and
he
they're
can be
judging
presidential, and you get that like, you
candor
get,
and
you leave people with the. By the way, this is
is
the
not
last
going to
debate. You
do.
leave people with
they're
the
trying to
impression
come
that,
up
oh
with
wait
a
a minute, maybe he
decision
can be presidential
which of
because
those is more
Trump,
acceptable to them.
you know, and his
Living with 4
whatever
years
his
of
election committee or
indecision
whatever the people that
about
help him
Biden's
figure
real
out how to
plans,
strategize with
or living
the
with
election,
4 more
they know
years
that his
of
biggest
Donald Trump.
like
And that,
issue is
frankly,
his
they're not choosing
his
between two
character and
candidates they
his
like.
his
They're
personality.
choosing between, as
So it could be a.
several
I
have
wonder if
said,
that's a
the lesser
strategy.
of two evils. And I'm sorry that you feel that way, but it is what it is. We've gone on for an hour and 25 minutes. I want to thank you guys for your participation. I hope you found it interesting. I found you all fascinating. And by the way, we're going to do this again. I don't know if it's going to be done with the LA Times, but on the night before the election, I'm planning on convening another set of 15 or so voters to find out why they did what they did. And I'm leaning towards people who voted for Trump 4 years ago and will be voting for Biden the following day. But you'll have to tune in to see what we actually do. So thank you very much for participating. And everybody, we are now done.
Thank you, Frank.
Thank you for inviting us.
Take care. Be well.
You're welcome, guys. Thank you.
Everybody. Let's go Tampa Bay.
Let's go Steelers.
Bye-bye.
Tampa Bay. It just shows you how like team-oriented people are. So for the longest time, they're talking about should I be for Team Trump or Team Biden? Because I'm undecided. And at the end, they're like, Tampa Bay, Steelers.
But first tonight, in what could be a watershed
People
moment
love
in the
being
US
on teams,
election,
dude.
This week, the New York Post splashed
Yeah,
with
right, Dylan. It could be, yeah.
trove of
Although it's hard to
emails
tell with sports
detailing Joe
sports
Biden's
fans.
son's business dealings overseas. The emails reveal Hunter Biden had planned to
Because you
introduce
can be a
his
sports
father,
fan of a
who
team
was
and
of
live
course
somewhere
then
else
vice
just based off
president,
of
to
maybe
an
you moved or
executive at a
something.
Ukrainian energy company Burisma, a company where Hunter served on the board of directors. Publicly, Biden has said he's never spoken to his son about his overseas business dealings. But these emails seem to indicate otherwise. In one message sent by Vadim Pazarski in April 2015, he wrote, "Dear Hunter, thank you for inviting me to DC and giving me an opportunity to meet your father and spend some time together. It's really an honor and pleasure." Another message, also sent by Vadim in May 2014, asks Hunter for, and quote, advice on how you could use your influence to benefit the company. The emails and many more involving a Chinese energy company, which we will get into in the interview with Steve Bannon, were recovered from a laptop that was reportedly dropped off at a repair shop in Delaware in 2019 before it was handed over to the FBI. It was said to be a water-damaged MacBook Pro, and the person who dropped it off never paid for the service, and he didn't return to retrieve it or a hard drive on which the contents were stored. This is according to the shop owner, who said he repeatedly tried to contact the client.
This is probably my last
He
game,
says that on the
everybody.
laptop was
I think
a
I'm going to
sticker
call it
from
a
the
night
Joe
after
Biden
this.
Foundation, which was named after Hunter's late brother, the former AG of Delaware. On the hard drive are said to be text messages, videos, 25,000 photographs, and 11,500 emails. Some are deeply personal and emotional.
So wait, somebody
and
dropped
others
off-
involve drug use and are quite incriminating for the Biden family. The owner
So somebody
of this
dropped off
repair
Hunter
shop in
Biden's
Biden's
laptop
hometown of Delaware says when he didn't hear back from the FBI, he made a copy of the
at a
hard drive
laptop
and gave
repair
it,
shop
managed to find his way
anonymously.
to Trump's lawyer Rudy Giuliani. Now, in the US,
And then it was
this
brought.
has been
It was turned
quite
into
a
the
bombshell in
FBI,
the
and it
final
was
leg of the
the
presidential
emails
campaign,
were
and not just because of
looked
the
at.
actual contents
So
of the email,
sketchy.
but because of the issue of censorship. Twitter has censored the New York Post story, claiming, with absolutely no proof, that the contents contained hacked material. The tech giant, of course, has allowed the spread of other stories that contain either hacked or illegally obtained material, like the president's tax returns or Melania Trump's phone calls, or even Julian Assange's many data dumps on WikiLeaks, or Snowden's information. In censoring this story from a legitimate media outlet from the New York Post, Twitter is acting against the United States tradition enshrined in the Constitution of a free press. It is a deeply dangerous precedent. Now, a crucial player in this whole saga of Hunter Biden's laptop is Trump's former campaign manager and White House chief strategist, Steve Bannon. Bannon was the person who first alerted the New York Post to the existence of this drive in late September. He joined me earlier today to discuss this from New York. Steve, thank you so much for your time tonight. The trove of data that's emerged here is extensive. It includes Hunter Biden's text messages, videos, 25,000 photographs.
I can play one more.
500 emails. When and how did you first hear about this?
9:30. Yeah, I can play one more.
This was Mayor Rudy Giuliani. He and his lawyer were approached by the store owner after the FBI didn't come back.
We got one more. We got one more.
Mayor Giuliani is the president's lawyer. His lawyer, Bob Costello, is a very famous prosecutor in this area.
Is everyone that's in the chat wanting to get in able to get in? Hold on, before I start, I just want to make sure, because I just realized this is a public game. I don't want people that are in the chat to not be able to play.
Interest and knowledge of the Chinese
Dylan, you're in. Onslaught, did you get in?
Many emails, many text messages talk about the deep financial.
Okay, here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna make a new game. We'll do this.
Of the Biden family with the
okay, everybody, I'm leaving the game. I'm gonna make a new game.
I was able to help strategize.
And I'll make it private, so only people in the chat can join.
Distribution and release mechanism about how to actually
private.
Get this information out.
New code.
AFPFQQ. From all the infiltration that the Chinese Communist Party did into the elites in Australia through finance and through the political class, you're seeing the exact same playbook they ran in Australia as they're running in the United States with the Bidens. Joe Biden has lied about this for years, and it's pretty stunning. The information.
Okay, so there's 8 people. We'll do like, oh wow, there we go.
Well, when you first started,
it looks like we got a full team here. All right, this is the last game, so we'll see how we do.
Get access to some of these emails. How long did you take going through it all?
No stream sniping.
It's probably a couple months ago that we started. I think Rudy reached out to me in late August, I think it was, to start going through this.
Where do I need to go? I go admin. So basically, no idea at this point. That's the takeaway. Not a clue. Where was Lime? Yeah, Grace, they updated it with, they got like a little spooky theme. Little ghosts and pumpkins and stuff all around the map. All right, I think we're going skipping. We're skipping, huh? Okay, we skipped. Clean kill that point. Let's see how we do. Look at that. Just such an expert card swiper. It's not even fair how good I swipe these cards. There's blue again. Okay, white. I just saw red. Oh, wait. I'm gonna double check red here. Okay. Blue came out okay. But red could be dead. Let me just do a double check. Nope. Gosh, down there, orange, red. Dude, we straight up might win on tasks at this point. We're gonna do, this is gonna be a task win, guaranteed. Look how close we are. I'm Oh, Lime, you sneaky guy. You got me. Hold on a second. Let me finish my task. Just tasked it out. The taskmasters. Yeah, that was a task win. That was crazy. Quick tasks. Another game, please. So are task wins like not that satisfying? Because it didn't really come down to the wire. It was just like a quick task W. All right, let's do one more. All right. We'll do one more. We'll do one more. Guaranteed last, though. Guaranteed last. Should I add more tasks? Because right now, what do we have it set as? I have it as 2 common tasks, 1 long, 1 short. Kill distance, medium. Kill cooldown, 22.5. You usually go 3-2-3, 1-1-4. Oh man, those are all over the charts. Because right now, what is it? It was 2-1-2. Okay, so we can up the tasks requirements. So 3-2-3 versus, wait, so 3-2-3 is a total of 8 tasks. 1-1-4 is a total of 6 tasks, and I only have 5 tasks now. Okay, so 2-1-3 is good. 2-1-4. All right, let's do 2-1-4. 2-1-4. 2-1-4. We're doing 2-1-4. All right, let's go. But by the way, guaranteed final game, regardless of the outcome. I gotta call it. Dang, I wish I was imposter. That would have been sick to have an imposter final game. So we got teal, blue. Who else was in admin? Oh, they're all gone. Look at this expert card swipe. Boom. Never a miss. Never a miss. Dude, we're already almost halfway done with our tasks already. And only one kill. This could be another task win, actually. Who did I see? Why red? Getting framed. Feels bad, man. I'm skipping. Oof, Akash, you were the one that you took the L, and like the immediate L. It's always rough to be the one that gets killed right off the bat. Just ghosting the rest of the game. So orange and yellow there. Or not, yellow and blue. Gotta go electrical. Orange. Oof, orange down. So I saw orange. Wait, who reported? Green reported orange. Wait a minute. Hold on a sec. Because I was in... Because I saw orange. On the way to electrical. Electrical. I saw blue and yellow. I saw blue and yellow in Med Bay. Wait, so pink. Okay, so hold on. I got you, Diaz. So pink is getting voted on here by cyan and green. So, okay, it could be pink, or it could be cyan and green could be trying to frame pink. That's another option because green reported. totally possible. Either case is possible. But again, though, the tasks are getting completed. Oops. Oh, wait, here we go. Blue and yellow have been hanging out a lot. Oh. There it is. Pink sauce. Yeah. You know what we should do next time? I think what I'm going to do next time, what we'll do is we'll set up we'll plan it out so that next time what we can do a voice chat. We'll do a Discord. We'll do a game. Let me think. I'll think about a day where we can do a full-on Discord one. Where we'd have a voice chat in Discord because it'll be better than doing type. And we just have to make sure we keep people in line. Like, no one can say stupid stuff. You know what I mean? Like, because my only concern is that people are going to start going off, like, and start, just being kind of just ruining it. And I don't want that to happen. So, but I guess I can kick someone pretty quick. I can just drag them out if they start going off. Pink? Are we going pink? You going pink here? Wait, are people voting pink? I didn't get to vote. Looks like pink's done anyway. All right. I think green's clear. Think. Green's super clear. Green is clear as day, in my opinion, at this point. Yellow, white, blue, and green. Yellow, white, blue, green. Yellow, white, blue, green. We all here. What's this? What's happening? Why are we all? What's going on here? Yellow, white, blue, green. Are we all done with our tasks? I'm gonna go check cams. Wait, what is this? Is this security? Okay, so security allows you to see. Oh, yellow! How dare you, dude? Diaz, straight up, imposter from the start, dude. Yellow has some good strats. I'll be fair, Diaz, you got some strats. I'll give you the props because you've used me as an alibi way too much. I feel abused and used, but I respect the strats. Got cam killed. I was gazing through the cams. So, this is rough because did they get rid of an imposter already? Because I'm pretty sure it's not green. Pink, okay. So pink. So we got originally we were right with pink, and then wait, yellow is suspect. I'm not sure. I swear it's yellow though. Okay, so white. If not me, then yellow. Wait, white then yellow. Oh, Diaz, I think you're done because if everyone's agreeing on the white then yellow strat, you can't kill before they call a meeting. Right? Because basically right now they just have to call the emergency meeting to get yellow. Where are they going? Wait. Oh, they have to fix the lights. I see. Which gives them time. Hurry. Oh, they got it off in time. Because Diaz straight gives it up. No contest. Oh wait, maybe he is contesting. Good game. That was a close game. That was a good one to end on. Alrighty, nice stuff. Good stuff. That's it for me. I gotta call it a night. Because it's getting a little late, but yeah, good stuff. GG. Good game. I will see y'all. Yeah, so Adarsh, I gotta call it a night. I'm not gonna play Minecraft. But I will say this, Diaz, you were an imposter from the start and to the finish. I've never seen someone get so many imposter games. Like, the RNG on that for you. Good stuff. You did pretty good though. You used me a couple of times as an alibi, which I don't necessarily appreciate, but I understand. All right, everybody. I'm gonna go ahead and call it a night. Have a great rest of your night if you're staying up. Hopefully you get some sleep, but if not, enjoy the rest of your weekend. I want to set up a better, like a more advanced stream where we can do a voice chat version of imposters or Among Us. So I'll think about what day to do that next week sometime. But other than that, all right, everybody, have a good night. Peace. Later.